Hello, everybody. How are you doing? We're going to get into the show really quickly tonight. So I'm just going to do that quick bit of shilling saying go and buy merchandise, subscribe to the channel, join the Patreon, give us loads of money. Without further ado, tonight we have my good friend Ollie, Dave, and Lou from Lou Reviews. How you doing, mate?
Hey guys.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Tonight, and I think it's great that you've come on this show, Lou, because I think this is pretty down your alley. I was watching UFO Jesus the other day,
Mm.
and it suddenly dawned on me just how much. I mean, I've always been one of these people that doesn't really trust government and stuff like that, and like forever. How the sort of conspiratorial UFO community used to be so questioning of this thing, and now all of a sudden, because they're saying the right thing, they seem to be just lapping it up. I don't know what you guys think of that. It's a strange shift to me.
I feel like that's always been there. And the first person I think of is Don Schmidt. You guys know Don Schmidt, right? The
That
Area
name rings a bell.
51.
Yes.
He's an Area 51 researcher. He's an older gentleman, sort of the old school ufology. And he gets so angry when he thinks of the secrecy behind Area 51 and how the government cannot be trusted. But at the same time, he's getting the information directly from the Air Force. It's coming from probably one of the highest ranking people on that entire base in Jesse Marcel. And the thing that always struck me odd about Roswell is that Jesse Marcel never got a demotion for that mistake. Because if the events are true in the way that they happen, UFO crashes, government initially reports it's an alien spacecraft and then changes the story the next day. I think personally that was done on purpose. If it is a mistake, I would think the proper and sort of military move would have been to immediately send him to the North Pole to guard a radio station or do whatever up there and get him away from the most top secret place on the planet at the time, because they were developing the nuclear bomb. So it's funny to me that he's so adamant about how much he distrusts the government, but at the same time, the story that is literally his whole identity comes directly from the Air Force. So it's wild.
It's strange. It is strange with the Roswell thing, because realistically, I mean, that should be a national embarrassment, shouldn't it? It's such a mistake like that.
Yeah, I mean, if it is, because the story is they report alien spacecraft, and then the next day, oh, we messed that up. We got that wrong. It was what did they report? That's the second day. An air balloon. They said it was a weather balloon.
Yeah, mistakes
and
made.
Pictures with it and everything, and it's like, that's not a mistake. That is, if that's true, if it was a weather balloon, somebody should have been either fired or demoted. Definitely not promoted because of that. Like, why would the military at that time want the national media attention? I think they were trying to beat the storyline, and they put the first thing out there was, let's just fucking say it's alien. Say it's an alien crash. So that way, that's the story that the Russians think is going on out here, or what people saw. And the last thing they wanted at the time, because the Project Mogul, like that weather balloon system. People don't really realize this, but it was longer. The balloon tether was longer than the Washington Monument. Like it's a massive balloon system with many, many instruments. And at the time it was listening to the atmosphere so they can listen to the Russians exploding nuclear bombs on the other side of the planet. And that was top secret of top secret of top secret. And so the last thing they wanted in the news is that it was an experimental weather balloon, so let's put out their alien. and just fire up the presses in the world. Let's get everybody talking alien. And then the next day we'll give them a half truth, which is like, I feel like a lot of what the military does, a lot of what Lou Elizondo does, a lot of what Corbell does, a lot of what Jimmy Church and all of these guys do is they'll give you a truth and at the exact same time lie to you.
Mm.
So it's completely, what's the word I'm looking for? It's implausible deniability. So nobody can come back to them, and if they did come back to them a couple of years, well, you said there'd be aliens. You said we would have disclosure by now, and Lou Elizondo could always go back and say, "Go listen to that again." I never told you there'd be aliens.
Mm.
I never said this was non-human intelligence. I never once said that. And he's right. Like,
Do you think there's parallels? Do you think there's parallels between now and Roswell? The way the UFO story is being used.
Without a doubt, because what was funny is toward the end of my show, I was watching Stan Friedman a lot. I was just going over his archive, and I came across a clip where he was talking about the just recent UFO hearings where they had Gerald Ford, this was a big deal, and he was saying I sounded exactly like him, where it's just like, hey, we've got to petition the government to get this information. We think they have more information. Let's ask them for it. And I think these UFO hearings are a step in the right direction. And he was very confident that, they were close. And this was, the late 60s, mid 60s, when this went down, actually early 60s. So like, it was just funny to watch him and go, yeah, that sounds exactly like me as far as a, political activist perspective, because Stanton Friedman was a UAP activist in a lot of ways. It was just, it kind of like, it clicked for me. I was like, man, I sound exactly like everything that I'm saying today is literally the thing he said 50 years ago. And I was like, shit, yeah, this is the exact same thing. There's a lot of parallels. And it's the same trick every time. It's because the community and really the world is so, whether you know it or not, is so desperate for good data and good information on this. So in 2017, when this government guy, who's the highest ranking guy as far as anybody can tell, comes out and is like, hey, check out these 3 videos, these pilots. And then you got the pilots that come out a month later or with him. It was insanely compelling. And what they do is they give you something that at first seems incredibly compelling, like a UFO crash. Oh, that debris, it's got to be aliens, Farmer John, or whatever the farmer's name was. I can't remember the property owner's name in Roswell. But, yeah, I think you're right. I think you are onto something. This might be alien. And then let them talk alien. Let their imaginations do the work. And I think that's exactly what those videos did, is they let a lot of people's imagination do the work and sort of, again, get people talking alien, while at the same time, they're securing our airspace even more, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because again, like, and I've said it a billion times now, like, drones are a real issue, a legitimate national security threat that we're going to start seeing a lot more chaos caused by those things, I think, in the next 20, 30 years, starting around now. And so, like, that's a real national security concern. But to not get people talking about that, just like they didn't want them talking about the mogul balloon, they put out aliens, or they infer aliens. And
it seems really heavy this time, though, doesn't it? It seems it's really thick, and it's been going on for since 2017, was it, when that article came out?
Yeah, it was really thick in the 60s, though, too. Yeah. Think about it. Like, there was like a good decade of like heavy in UFO sort of congressional movement. There was like 5 years before it, then 5 years after it, and then the conversation died. Then it really didn't come back till Linda Moulton started doing cattle mutilations. But like it goes in waves. It's like an SNL cast. Like it pops and then it comes down. And I think that pop is because I can't think of any other example. Usually that pop is caused by the highest authority in the land, and that would be the military. Whether that be witnesses or video or photos that come or that are stamped, yes, that belongs to the Navy, but it wasn't classified, kind of stuff. So yeah, you make a great point.
So I wonder then, does that mean that this is is this going to like fizzle out eventually? It'll just like fizzle out and then go back to normal?
I think so. I think they got their office. They got the money starting to roll into the office. I think that they've got their plan set in place. And I think the plan was to make military personnel aware and not hesitant to report weird shit they see, whether it be in the sky, whether it be on the ground, in the water, whatever. If they think it's weird and it's close to a military base, report it. You're not going to get demoted. You're not going to get in trouble. We're encouraging you to do this. I think that's step one, is making aviators and ground personnel in the military aware that, hey, there's a drone issue and we need your guys' help to identify these things so we can start cataloging them better. And then that way they can start putting it in training manuals going forward, like to destigmatize UFOs. Because again, like our enemies have known for years that all you have to do if you want to slip it past the US national security apparatus is make it look weird. Make it look weird, whatever that means. It's a $400 drone, that has a solar panel on it that only moves every once in a while, and just sits there and takes pictures and videos and collects all sorts of different sort of data, and it's got $900,000 worth of listening devices on it, on a $600 drone. And they don't give a shit if they lose it. They're collecting data. They don't care. It's a drop in the bucket for China, Russia, whatever other adversaries that are interested in our nuclear capabilities specifically. And yeah, they're trying to poke our weaknesses and see what they are. And a huge weakness in that system is they knew pilots, ground personnel. Nobody's going to report anything that looks weird because they know they would get demoted. They'll lose flight time. They'll get the shitty shifts because everybody's going to start thinking they're crazy, especially their superiors. And so I think that honestly was the biggest thing that they had to correct within all branches of the military is do not be afraid to report these things. There's now a process and there's now an office to where these reports go to. And naturally, there's going to be a percentage of those reports that are unknown. They're going to be even more confusing than the average bear. You know what I mean? But I don't think the military or anybody of any real intelligence knowledge is going, aliens, we got to get the aliens. Like, I don't think it's that at all.
On the back of those military bases, by the way, Lou, Dave, you've, without giving anything away, even though me and Lee are going to see the location when we come and visit you, but those military bases, you've seen certain things. Would you say some of the stuff you've seen is possibly drones?
Oh, well, yeah, man. And it's not, the weird thing is it's not a military base. Like the fun stuff isn't over military bases. The fun stuff's over the national research labs and or private corporations. Like we're talking like, so when Lou was talking about, moving things outside, I'd be amazed how much the government does know. You know who I think would have any clue? Booz Allen Hamilton. A name no one talks about. Who's a massive military contractor. And their huge thing for them is intelligence. That's what they are. They're the largest intelligence network in the world. They have all the contracts from the NSA, the CIA, the DIA. They all use their assets. Like that's because they're there, man. They maintain their own offices around the world.
And I just want to say, I don't think that necessarily means it's nefarious. You know what I mean? Like, I think our governments need to make these offices and these programs. And I think, of course, in that process, there's a percentage of people that take advantage of it. Not because it's designed for people to take advantage of it in that way. Like, for example, I was just watching a movie last night about Guantanamo Bay. And this prisoner who was held there for 14 years and tortured by United States military personnel. And it went before the Supreme Court, and he was eventually released because the U.S. military had no evidence. And also, like, because there was a confession there, he was tortured into a confession by the United States. Like, just really sick shit. But I don't think that one incident should be a broad paintbrush across the entire military. Like, and because it's just not fair. So like when I hear about intelligence gathering, things like that, or big military contractors, yes, I agree with you. I think that they are definitely doing things sometimes even outside of their contracts that maybe they don't even have permission for. I've heard of things where, a certain contractor loses a contract and they think their product is really, really good. So they'll put it in the airspace on purpose to fuck with the United States military systems to show them this is what you didn't pay for. And the military will turn around and slap them on the wrist. Like, you shouldn't have done that. Okay, we'll take 40, yes, I agree with you. There's always fraud and abuse, but I think a lot of these systems and things that they're trying to do are genuinely in the name of national security. And then, of course, with that, there's always issues. I just wanted to just say that.
I wasn't implying that they're bad or wrong.
I'm not saying you are. It's just usually when people start talking about this stuff, like they immediately go, "Oh, the government's evil." Yes, I agree. Government's evil. All governments are, but they are also, I think, necessary in a lot of ways. And have ushered in the greatest progress we've ever seen, as far as we know. So I don't know. It's there's a lot of issues, but I just. I definitely feel what you're saying though, 100%.
Yeah, so I've told the guys, and they're coming out to the U.S., and I'm going to take them out to a mountain that overlooks a particular facility. And all you got to do is throw on the night vision and look up at the sky, and you'll see crazy things. Do I think they're UFOs? I mean, by definition, yeah. I don't know what they are, and they're flying.
Right.
But you can see it pretty regularly, and if you know the guards who work there, and I do, they'll tell you what nights. It's like, how do you know that? It's like, because they don't let us on patrol.
Right.
It's quite that simple. So it'll be fun. But yeah,
the question would be that,
man,
if we take the like the reports of the Tic Tac, for instance, because that's kind of the headline grabber when it comes to technology of this thing. Do we think that it's possible we've had that covert leap in technology? Because that's what I find hard to believe.
But what have we seen? I mean, we haven't. I don't think.
But I mean, what we've been told,
what said, but we've not actually seen it.
No, but that's what we've got. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing with Fravor and Dietrich that I find troubling is that Dietrich's eyewitness account was less than 10 seconds long. Fravor's eyewitness account is upwards of 15 minutes. There's a huge time difference between their testimony. If you read Jeremy Corbell's blog posts, God damn it, if you haven't read them, go read them. But he discusses this in that he thinks that David Fravor thought it was a black project. He never thought for a second it was a alien craft. And there are, and you can find these online, it's not difficult if you do some digging. There are drones that are released underneath the water by submarines. They balloon up, pop open, shoot out a drone at an insane speed. And now, do I think that we have the capability of either a drone or a rocket or a missile being propelled out of these things to enter space and then come back into the atmosphere? Yeah, I do. And technically, that's transmedium. That's something that has gone from the water to our atmosphere to, the first layers of space, maybe second layers of space, and then back into the ocean and then collected by that submarine. Um, that technology is out there. That technology exists. There are drones that are capable of traversing the planet, I think, forever. I mean, if we have nuclear technology in our submarines and aircraft carriers, naturally, I think the next step in that is going to be putting it in a drone that could stay in the sky forever without having to refuel it.
Back in the 90s, there was reports, wasn't there, of nuclear powered aircraft, with the smoke ring exhausts that people saw around places.
They have nuclear powered. So when nuclear power was taken off in the 50s and 60s, they built tanks and jeeps and planes that were nuclear powered. And then they realized, holy shit, what happens if these things get hit in battle? So then they buried them. They actually buried them not too terribly far from where I live. Still underground.
All of a sudden, a third hand comes out from behind you.
I don't know about that, but I got 40-pound tomatoes. My teeth have never been whiter. So
fair enough. That's why when I saw drone swarm technology for the first time, and this is probably 2013 or 14 when I saw the first real drone swarm application, and I was like, okay, if it's coming out today, if I'm seeing this today, that means our military's had it for at least 20 years. And that technology I could see very easily being used to confuse everyday people, military personnel, in some very, very deceptive ways. I mean, if you can program these things to make it look like somebody's running through the sky,
I spent a week
to make them look like they're doing really amazing maneuvers, and they're not. They're just drones set in different places with different light panels that makes it look like it's going from here to here like that, and it's not. It's just two drones, and they're just giving you an illusion, But yeah, sorry, Ollie, what were you gonna say?
I spent a week in China with work back in 2016, and I went to an airport that had a display where they were showing drone tech. I'm not military or anything like that. It was just to do with technology. And I'd never seen anything like it in my life. I maybe I'll put the video up at some point as well, because I don't work for them anymore. But it was unbelievable. They had drones that were submarines, and I'd never seen anything like that. But the speed these things could go at was insane. And this is normal stuff that you could buy for, and I think there were a few thousand at the time. These
expensive consumer electronics.
Yeah, and some of them were huge. They were showing the new police drones that those guys have got.
Well, those drones are okay. So 2 years ago, when I started my show, I came across a commercial drone company. I think they were based out of Nevada, if I'm not mistaken. And they were selling these helicopter drones. They look like miniature helicopters. And the flight time on these things were, I believe, 6 hours with the batteries that you could put on them. You can put infrared on them. You can link them up. You can there was a radar. You could put radar on them. A multitude of different radar systems commercially. And they were like 25 grand a pop. Not crazy expensive for the right company that's looking to do something. I don't know what you would be looking to do with something like that. I can't really think of any applications, but then again, that's probably why I'm an actor. But I was like, and that was 2 years ago. So today, I'm sure those stats have only gone up as battery technology gets better, as aerodynamics get better, as those technologies trickle down from, I think, military applications to commercial use. And that's exactly what that helicopter was. It was like, shit, dude, this thing flies 6 hours. Again, that means that they had this capability a long time ago. Like, and they've shown that over and over and over and over and over again. And so, yeah.
You've
Wouldn't
heard them
shock
speak
me.
about drones with battery lives, and they've used the excuse that drones can't do that because the battery life is not powerful enough. But they're talking about stuff that we know of.
So for the drone thing, one of the guests I got you guys, Max.
Yes.
He built a drone for an undisclosed company, and it can carry 65 pounds. It can stay up for hours. It has binary vision, like he can see for depth, range, and thermal and night vision. And he built it.
Yeah.
I have no idea what powers it, by the way.
Yeah, these things have payloads. Like, yeah, it's wild, man. Like, and what was really cool about it is you could switch the capability, like, because it almost looked like a rail gun. So you literally, the battery would pop off and it would slide in and out, and then the instruments that you could attach to it would then slide on that. It was wild. And yeah, man, I mean, like, what are private companies doing with that?
That's where it's really all getting developed, though, is that those, like, if you go down to Alabama, they got, like, if you go into the Lockheed Martin building, it's not just Lockheed Martin. It's all the buildings that are contracted with Lockheed Martin that are doing all the, development under Lockheed Martin for their satellite Skunk Works project that isn't at where anyone thinks it's at. It's just at an undescript place.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting. That's for sure.
So, sorry, go on, Ollie.
No,
it's good. It's good, mate. Go on.
I was just going to say, with your fun but brief work that you did with Lou, and it's kind of like goes in line with the title of your show tonight, Lee. He was put up everywhere. He went on everything. Do you think he has any idea what it is that he's kind of promoting in a way that
I think
media
he knows
is
what he's
putting?
supposed to promote. That's probably a better way of putting it, isn't it?
I mean, I think he goes on those programs knowing exactly what he wants to talk about and the points he wants to make, without a doubt.
Do you think he knows what it is that he's dealing with?
What do you mean by that?
About what it is, the whole subject. Do you think he has any clue, or he's just got a mission?
I mean, he said himself he's not I don't know. I'm not Lou Elizondo, right? Like, I have no idea. But I mean, he said he's not a ufologist. He never has been. So to me, it's either one of two things. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's never just one of two things. But for me, it's either he really believes in what he's saying, or he's just telling people what they want to hear for a reason. Which one it is, we won't know until really 10 or 15, 20 years from now, when nothing's come out, nothing's changed. And, who knows? Maybe the U.S. government sues him. Maybe he sues the U.S. government. It seems like he's lawyering up. I'm not sure why, but it's not to fight John Greenwald. I can tell you that. It's not to argue with me. I think he's in a lot of trouble. I don't think he had permission to do this. But we'll see. We'll see.
Would that be him and Chris?
You would say, I would say yes.
They're in it together.
How could they not? How could they not?
Would it not stand no, maybe not stand to reason, but it also be like an equally possible scenario that from the New York Times article 2017 to Corbell taking such a wide role in ufology and bringing God, I forgot his name, Lazar back into the picture, to Lou Elizondo coming out because I personally don't think Lou was supposed to be the guy to doing this. I think the guy was supposed to be Tom DeLonge, and he went nuclear on Rogan and became tainted goods, and they essentially plugged in somebody else that they could quickly plug in to do that role. For whatever reason it is, I believe this is all connected, and it's just a massive disinformation campaign or disclosure campaign, whichever way you want to look at it. But I think it's all connected. It's too much. Even the Corbell and the Bob Lazar on the Flying Saucers documentary. I quite enjoyed that when it went out. Odd thing to hit Netflix in the way it did. Because that documentary was pushed.
I don't think so. I mean, films are sold sometimes years before they're actually seen. So
it's awfully good timing, man.
For sure. If I just based off of what I've seen and what I've heard and what I've sort of corroborated on my own, they're not that smart.
What who?
Any of them? Mm-hmm. Any of them? They're not as sophisticated and well organized as you think. Like the whole, like Lou Elizondo's wife is the person who books his interviews. He doesn't have a publicist. Again, like I've heard stories about them taking production meetings like that they should not have been taking. Like they really thought, I think when the whole Tom DeLonge to the Stars thing failed, I think he was very disgruntled about that. It pissed him off. I don't know what happened between them, but I mean, the only person who was basically fired was Lou. Everyone else resigned or left, just like nicely left the company. With Lou, when you look at the paperwork, I can't remember how they worded it, but yeah, it just like everybody else was let go and he was just terminated. And then after that, I think he thought him and Cahill and the whole Skyfort media thing that they have with Jake Mann and who's the other guy's name? I'm forgetting his name right now. But you know, the It's Redacted crew and then another producer that's out here in LA. And I think they thought they could start their own To the Stars. And they were so bad at it. And they had meetings. I know HBO said no to them. I know History Channel said no to them. And they pitched almost everyone. And everyone's like, nah, we're good. Now, that doesn't mean they won't come back or they haven't come back and said, hey, when your book's done, we'd be interested in making a show or a film based off of your book. I could see that happening for sure. And that's how he'll make his money, because if he gets to license that story and sell it as a truth, he can make a lot of money off it, a lot of money. And I'm not sure how the government feels about that. And I think maybe that could be why he's lawyering up. Because when you look at the employment of Lou Elizondo and you really start digging and looking at the details of it, which, you know, John Greenwald has done an amazing job at, Stephen Greenstreet has done an amazing job with, it seems like ATIP was kind of just a hobby that he suckered Harry Reid and a few other people out of $22 million, you know, which is not
like
which
a
is, I mean,
huge amount of money
the
is in that
22 mil went to Bigelow and Skinwalker Ranch, but I think there was something with ATIP, something either under the table or whatever. I don't think he just did it just to do it, or he just did it. Maybe he just made up the department name so that way when he knew he was going to quit, he could say ATIP. I was the director of ATIP, and no real journalist has gone and dug into what ATIP was. And because of that, they just take it at face value and they think ATIP was this really big government program. And it wasn't. It was just literally run by Lou Elizondo.
I don't think the name hurts either. The name sounds important, doesn't it?
It sounds, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, again, like, this is where I'm just confused. I don't know if he's just angling for a grift because he's also an inventor. He's invented a lot of things that haven't sort of popped off.
Oh yeah, Manny told us.
Yeah, and so like I feel like he's in a lot of ways, he does independent contracting. Like I think like a lot of hustlers, he's looking for something that's gonna be the big hit. You know what I mean? And I think he saw this UFO window as maybe an opportunity to do that, or he just really believes what he's saying and his story and his, he thinks he's got proof, but we'll see. Again, like it's going to take a few years to really get the real story about this guy and what he was doing. I really think it's going to take a long time. We may never get the actual truth of it, but again, something's not right.
So, Lee, I was with you with the Tom DeLonge thing. Like, I felt that Tom DeLonge messed up and Lou took the reins. Now, I have a different opinion on that. And this is going to go against probably the total grain of tonight. It seems to me that Lou was always the guy. If you look back at how he was introduced with TTSA on that fake stage with that fake audience that was not there, it looked
uncomfortably large stage.
Yeah, maybe Lou was always supposed to be the guy, and maybe that's just me and my conspiratorial head.
No. There's nothing. I don't think that's conspiratorial at all. I mean, I think Lou maybe even thinks that. He's a really personable dude. He like, whether you want to admit it or not, Unidentified season 1 and 2 to me, even right now, is still the best produced television show that's ever been made on the topic, ever. And he comes across really credible. He's insanely personable. I think that's why again, let people do the imagination and the crazy thinking on their own. I mean, like, he's got the title, he's got the pedigree, he's got the sort of the bona fides that goes along with being in the military. And it's really, 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 it's a really clickable story. It's a really clickable story. It's a fuck lot more clickable than, unknown drones coming into our airspace, maybe looking at our nuclear facilities. Like, that's not that sexy about that. You want to get the attention of lawmakers to really look at a real issue, man, connected to UFOs, and you'll get a department, you'll get millions of dollars. Like, it's sexy, man. Sexy sells, whether it be media or in the halls of Congress. Sexy sells. And so, yeah, maybe he was supposed to be the main guy from the beginning, but so what? What is, like, we don't know that. We have no clue. Like, I think, we're just going to have to, we could speculate all day, but we're just going to have to wait and see, man. But I predict nothing major will happen. I think we're going to get UAP hearings here in April, apparently. If they're coming in April, we're going to get maybe more than one hearing. If what I've been told happens, I think these hearings are going to nip everything in the bud when it comes to alien talk. My understanding is that the adults in the room have now entered the conversation, and there's a lot of senators and lawmakers that are really pissed off that $11 million already has been set aside for an office that doesn't need to really be made. Like, the Air Force can just figure out what the fuck's going on. They don't need an aero office to look at the sky.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
they
that
don't
makes
need
sense.
that. It seems like a dog and fucking pony show. And I think there's a lot of serious lawmakers or level-headed lawmakers that are looking at this and going, okay, what the fuck is going on? Why are you guys doing this? Why are we inferring aliens why are you telling the American people there's a possibility of non-human intelligence in our atmosphere when there's not?
The same with the with whatever was shot down over Canada and stuff like that. You know, that was such a wild press conference when, you know, we're not ruling out it's like an extraterrestrial life form. You know, it's what the fuck is going on at that point?
Yeah. No, but if you always look at the lawmakers that are saying that kind of stuff, they, with the exception of maybe Rubio, he's the only guy that I look at and I go, man, he's like a really slick. I'm not saying I'm a fan of him, but he's good at what he does. He's really good at what he does. And he's been able to stay the senator of Florida for almost 2 decades, which says something. That's a hard state to sort of get reelected in, having the policies that he's had. It's pretty wild. It's impressive. But I don't know. If you look at the senators who took, like Tim Burchett, he's a kook. Ruben Gallego, I wouldn't say they're kooks, but they're very small-time senators. They're new senators. They're new to the system. Senator Gillibrand, I mean, she's probably the second most serious lawmaker that's talking about it. But, you know, she's had a lot of failed policies. She's not a senator that's really known for getting things done for her constituency or her district. You know, I'll be shocked if she gets reelected in the next campaign. We'll see. You know, we'll see. I really think that, again, the adults in the room have entered the conversation, and I think we'll see. I hope. I don't know. Well, I hope that these UAP hearings are a slap in the face of reality, a slap of reality in the face, rather, to the alien people, the folks that take every word and twist it to be like, oh, did you hear what he said? Yeah, I heard what he said. Then I went back and listened to the entire interview in context, and that senator didn't come close to saying anything was aliens. Some of them have inferred. But again, if you go back and you listen to what they're saying, they give you truth. And the truth that they give you is it's an air safety issue. It's a pilot safety issue. It's a commercial and military safety issue. That's the thing they always lead with. And then they'll finish it up with a little bit of inference of non-human intelligence, just because it's sexy. It sprinkles on top of a real fucking problem, you know.
Does that not, in some way though, could that not have the opposite effect? Because if you've got drones that are a risk to passenger aircraft, to military aircraft, to just national security in general, and then you turn around and say it could be aliens, surely that could make a large amount of people just go, oh well, this is clearly bullshit. It's only sexy to us because we like this stuff.
Well, yeah, it's sexy to us because we like this stuff. Definitely not to this community, but I don't think that happens within the aviation community. I think the aviation community is very much aware of this issue. I think they now know how to report it better. And the reason why I know that is because at the last AIAA conference, the last 3 AIAA conferences, they've had discussions about UAPs. And not one of those discussions has ever strayed into non-human intelligence. They're talking about it from a strictly safety issue. And what they're learning every year is brought to that conference. So commercial pilots are aware of what's in the sky and what to look for. So no, I don't think there's any danger. Because remember what I said a little while ago about the main mission is to destigmatize this, make UAP. That's why they changed it from UFO, because UFO's got the alien stigma. You say UFO, the first thing in your brain is big eyes, saucers, all that shit. You say UAP, 99.9% of the world has no clue what that is, but pilots know what that is. Pilots understand that lingo and that acronym. So no, I don't think it does any damage whatsoever for the people who need to know what exactly is going on. And that's our commercial and military pilots. Those are the guys that need to be aware of, oh shit, if this gets in my engine, it's going to be a problem. You know what I mean? And maybe there are different ways and I think they're having conversations of, okay, how can we improve radar technology to pick these things up, to, differentiate them between a flock of birds versus a flock of actual drones, things like, I think those are the things that they're talking about.
Yeah, but if a flock of drones was to go in somebody's engine, then that's an attack. That, that's
absolutely
to say it's a risk in the air.
Yeah.
And it's unknown. If it's controlled by humans and it goes into a plane, it's an attack.
Right. And it would be very irresponsible of the government and the military to not make pilots aware of that.
But they're not saying that. They just keep saying it's a threat in the air because we don't know what it is and we may hit it. It's got a mind of its fucking own.
Well, there was an interesting. I was watching a clip the other day. I can't remember what the guy's name is. That has the show. I think his show is just called The Show, and then his name is just like his name. It's like kind of like a Joe Rogan light sort of situation. Yeah. But he had that same CIA guy on that Lex Friedman had. He
Andrew Bustamante.
Looks like expat.
Yeah.
And
I saw a couple clips of that interview.
Yeah. And he was saying how the UAP thing came along because the you have unidentified aerial phenomena and identified aerial phenomena which would go into not necessarily like known aerial phenomena like just planes and birds and stuff like that, but he was talking more like ball lightning. This crazy stuff you get when you have earthquakes and stuff like that. And I kind of got then where the UAP thing came from, because at first when the UAP thing came around, it just became really jarring. It's like, well, where's this come from?
Right. Yeah, I think it's come from, I think, again,
Clinton, wasn't it? Was it Clinton?
I think so, yeah.
Hillary mentioned it, and that really caught notoriety, but it had already floated around circles. Like they were already moving that out. If you read government documents or talked to that was the language that they were using. And then when she said it on TV, they were like, "What's this?" Yeah.
Well, I mean, the acronym UAV and UAP has been used within military circles for decades. And I think all they did was just take it and apply it to something new. They applied it to something new. And that new thing is this explosion of drone technology. And so, because they don't want, again, like the truth with the lies, they don't want to tell you the problem, but at the same time telling you there's a problem, and so I think that's why there's like the officialness of it, of UAP versus UFO. I think it's pretty clear as to why they did that. Because it's jargon that I think pilots and more serious people are going to really pay attention to. Because if UAP comes up in a briefing that they're reading versus UFO, I mean, even Lou said this, like, if I pitch UFO to my boss, he's going to tell me to get the fuck out of the room. But if I come in there and say, hey, there's an unidentified aerial threat within our atmosphere, his ears are going to perk up. I mean, he literally said that. So again, like, they're telling us.
What is the difference though?
X-Files.
They're both fucking UFOs.
Yeah, but UFOs are The Day the Earth Stood Still, big silver craft with giant robots that walk out of them.
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, UAP are legitimate air safety issue, I think is what it is.
It's uncontaminated language.
Yeah, what was that that CIA guy's name again?
Andrew Bustamante.
Andrew Bustamante. I've
It's
got
not
to
his
go
real
look
name,
him
though.
up. I'm sure it's not. But I did find it interesting when he was talking about UAPs and UFOs that he was looking at just by simply putting on the night vision goggles. He's like, you go out and you can see the Milky Way in a clear place. You're going to see all sorts of shit flying around.
Yeah.
But then he also attributed it to obviously more satellites, more countries that have the ability to have satellites. There's newer and stranger and longer streams of satellites that like Starlink and things like that. And
Those
then
are
he starts,
awesome.
then he starts saying about like legitimate UFOs, like things that he's seen that he cannot explain. They're flying, they're unidentified. But he also said he said that with the caveat of that doesn't mean they're alien, you know.
Correct.
And I don't think he thinks they're alien, but to me, if I had to take a guess, I think he knows that's our tech. And he's just not going to say that. He's not going to say that. He's not going to put that kind of technology in a place where, again, they don't want you thinking technology. They want you thinking alien, always alien. So they infer, but listening to him, I walked away going, he's saying this is not non-human intelligence in a way. To me, that's the way I kind of walked away from it.
Lee's just saying his laptop's had a stroke or something, so he's still going back.
No worries.
He'll give it a little mouth to mouth. He'll be back in a
a little resuscitation.
I've sent him a link on Facebook just in case he has to draw on it. He has to come on his phone.
No, the Sky with Night Vision thing, that's legit though. Like when these boys come out, I have a few extra sets of excellent quality, and it'll be fun. And you see crazy stuff, especially over facilities as they're testing. I have PVS 14 sets and PVS 7s and some other stuff.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah, I think it's I think if you're looking to see really cool shit flying around in the sky, you can do it. It's there. You know, I think just the difference is, you know, depending on who you're with, you might get an explanation versus rationality. Like if you're out there in it's not Sonoma. Where does she live? Melinda Leslie. You know, she takes her little tours out there to see the shit flying around in the sky, and she says they're aliens and UFOs, and you know, everything's an alien and a UFO to a believer. But yeah, it was just interesting to see her or see, you know, again, like just depending on who you're with, depends on the explanation you might get. But for me, I think the more satisfying explanation is that it is human tech. Like for me, like it's fun to think that, oh shit, we've figured some shit out. Like we've cracked something. We've had a big leap in something, and they're playing with it. And we'll see it in 20 or 30 years, like we always do.
It would be such a jump, though. The when you think of like the way aircraft moved in the past, I mean the stealth fighter, for instance, wasn't it looked cool, but it didn't feel like sci-fi. If you actually looked at it compared to what else was around, you know, then we had like the Concorde as a like hypersonic passenger jet, for instance. The fact that we haven't moved on, apart from the fact that planes have got a bit more comfortable. You know, if you get on passenger planes, we
have they?
Maybe not now.
Look at a picture from the 50s at a Pan Am airplane. Damn, there's a lot of legroom in those things. They were serving you like legitimate T-bone steaks.
It's gonna be comfortable for me when I'm laid on Lee.
Yeah.
But I don't see that like natural progression from what we have in the civilian sphere to like anti-gravitic multimedia medium crafts.
Well, I think you're thinking in terms of putting a human in it.
Yeah, maybe that's the
I'm
problem.
thinking in terms of it's not operated by human hands, and so therefore it can really do some stuff that it couldn't do if a human were inside it. So I think that kind of leap, I don't know if it'll be a travel, like we'll see it in our airplanes or how we get from A to B, but I'm sure eventually we will. But yeah, I think that if you're seeing something that can make a right angle turn, let's say, at a very high velocity and speed, it could be human made. But there's probably not a human inside of it.
But my problem with that would be that you've got the steps to get to that like right angle turn at that speed would have started slowly. So before it got to the point where you couldn't put people in it, we'd have already passed the point where it would have been slower and more like a conventional aircraft, but maybe more maneuverable, where you could have put people in it. We kind of passed the flying car phase.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. Well, I think the flying car is coming. It'll just be a drone. It'll be a quadcopter.
Wilcott's
it'll be a quadcopter. Yeah, no, it's no, they're already beta testing this in New York City, where it takes off from Lower Manhattan and lands at LaGuardia, and you're there in 10 minutes, and it's $100. It's not even like $1,000 thing that I thought it would be. Like it's kind of reasonable. That's coming. Packaging, like delivery through these things, is coming. All of those things are there, but I think it's more realistic that we hit a limit with what a human can turn and how fast they can turn. And they came into the engineering design of, well, what if we just take the human element out of this fucking thing? Like,
I think they need to, when it comes to flying cars, they need to take the human element out of it, because humans can't fucking drive half of them.
No, those things will be automated, I think, for sure. Like, I think that'll all be like, I love Minority Report, because I love the future sort of visions that they have in Minority Report, because I know Steven Spielberg brought in a lot of futurists to sort of help with the script. But yeah, I think all that stuff is going to be automated, all of it. Trucking, taxis, personal transportation, like getting here to San Francisco, here to Vegas on a quadcopter drone will at first be super expensive, but in 20, 30, 40, 50 years, I think it'll be a very common, very automated thing that people take to work or vacation destinations all the time. I think this is the first step in having that flying car, beyond 2090s television shows sort of vision. It's coming. We're on the precipice of it. I just don't think we're like, dude, I was born in 1980. Okay. Like, I've seen us go from 8-tracks to record, the records were there. 8-tracks, cassette tapes, CD player, iPod, computer in hand. Like in your hand. Like, it's to
insane.
Me, it doesn't seem as fucking crazy. Like, this conversation was an AT&T commercial in 1991 where they were like theorizing about this shit in their commercial, like this very scenario. And you're like, holy shit, the future, man, it's gonna be fucking awesome. And here we are, and all of us are like,
it's
because
fine.
Because it's gradually and slowly hit us. And I think that's all that shit. One day it's gonna be like, for example, commercial space flight, like a Virgin space flight, an Amazon space flight. A ticket for that is like, what, 50 grand, 60, or even crazier than that, if you even wanted to do it. Like, you had to be in the 1%.
It's gone under, hasn't it? Just recently, I think. Didn't Virgin just file for bankruptcy?
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
but there'll be growing pains, but somebody's gonna figure it out. Like, and that's gonna be an everyday part of life where, yeah, you take off from LA and you're maybe in Japan in 20, 30 minutes because you're in space, and you could just use the momentum of space to get you across the ocean in a real short time. I think, yeah, all that stuff is on its way, man. It's just, updating infrastructures, updating technologies, like it's slow. And before we know, by the time we're 60, 70 years old, we're going to be looking around us doing the same shit, but it's going to be awesome. But we are going to be like, all right, so what? I ordered an Uber from here to Vegas and I got there in 20 minutes. Big deal. It's been happening for the last 15 years, guys. Like we'll be just so spoiled by it. So I'm it's hard to sort of step back and take a look at 2023 we're in and go, holy shit, this is cool. Like we're in a cool place from a technology standpoint. Again, like you boys are in England and I'm in LA. I'm not sure where you're at. But like this is crazy that we're talking right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Lou, though, Lee's seen stuff in the sky. He's had experiences, weird paranormal experiences that he can't explain. Dave's had stuff that he can't explain. Probably a lot of stuff more than he cares to admit. I've had weird stuff in my life. You had a very strange, which you discussed on a couple of weeks ago on the show. 13 years old, something that you cannot explain. Something's happened along your journey that has turned you into I would say, would it be fair to say a skeptic when it comes to
no, skeptic it's a harsh word, man, because I still think it's possible.
But you said it's there. You said on the show, and I watched the show back.
It's mathematically speaking.
You said memory.
Yeah, I'm working off my memory, and I can't say it's fact based off my memory of it.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes is the fact that a memory is just a memory is a memory of the last time you remembered something.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. It's accessing the last time you remembered it. So it's a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy for infinity.
Yeah.
But if I'm right,
no,
because if you sound like you're the same age as me, so that must have been what 93? 93? Yeah. What was about in 1993 that had the ability to do what you saw?
Ball lightning.
How fucking rare is that?
I mean,
it's not sexy. It's not fun. It's not fun.
A big yellow.
It was what I remember. It was white in the inside and it emanated green. But what was weird about it?
That's what I saw.
The thing that I kind of found strange. There's again, like me even memorizing it right now. I'm not memorizing the actual.
But it can also be a meteor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Floating meteor would be pretty wild, but because it hovered there above a big plot of land. But
Lee's was Lee's was higher, Lou, but exactly the same as what you explained. Same color, everything.
My one was. Sorry, just quickly. My one was quite interesting because I was on my way home from band practice, and my guitarist was giving me a lift home. And I saw this thing coming across the roofs of the not roof, but of the sky over my house, and it sort of was like 15 seconds. I saw this thing going across, and it went out of sight. That was the thing. It didn't sort of fizzle out. It went out of sight. Yeah. And I probably would have forgot it by now. But I went to work the next day, and my friend that I work with, he lives maybe 3 miles that way. And I came into work like, you'll never guess what I saw last night. He said, it wasn't a big green ball of like light flying through the sky, was it? And he was outside having a cigarette in his garden at exactly the same time I went home. So it's one of those things that the fact he saw it as well has always been like an anchor point to me rather than just running off my own head.
Same with me. I was it was a barbecue, it was a birthday party, and there's one person that I know I can still get in contact with today. I just prefer not to for multitude of reasons, but before we had our falling out, we would hit each other up every once in a while and be like, hey, that thing, right? It happened, right? Like that was real. Yes, definitely. Okay, cool. Awesome. I'll talk to you in a year. Kind of thing. So I've always wanted to go back. And the thing is, I'm gonna do this, but it's just I don't have the money to shoot a little mini film. But I really want to do this because I think the same people own that property. I'm just not 100% sure.
Well, like a reenactment of it.
No, I want to go interview the owners of the house. I want to see who I can find that was at that birthday party and see what they can remember and what they could tell me about the event, because I think that would be interesting. I'd like to get other people's perspectives on it. But
sorry, can you remember like talk thing going on afterwards?
Yeah, the whole part. Yeah, I remember like everybody was super excited, like because the adults
for the audience, the internet wasn't a thing. Well, it kind of
no, in '93. No, yeah, it was only being used by the military.
You'd have to be super rich.
Yeah. No, yeah, I remember after the party, it was like, or after that happened, the party basically stopped. And like all the lights came on and everybody was just talking about this. And it was like, okay, everybody, it's time to go home kind of thing. And I remember getting in my friend's mom's car and we were freaking out about it all the way home. And then I remember coming into my house and running upstairs and like waking my parents up and just telling them all about it. And they're like, go to sleep, like, what are you doing? So it was like, again, those are the things I remember. I don't know if that's actually what happened. And that doesn't feel good to say, but that's just what I have to say logically, because it's a 1993. It's a 40-year-old memory at this point, like it's an old memory. And so, that's why I don't use that as any proof or 100% definitiveness that this stuff is real. I just can't do it. I can't do it. It's not fair to me, and it's not fair to anyone that I'm speaking to. Recently, I have been getting psychological help. I've just mental illness is a real thing, and I recommend everyone get a mental health checkup and do those things, because it does wonders to talk about these things with people and get other people's perspectives and just talk to a legitimate psychologist, not a fucking hypnotologist or any of that bullshit. An actual psychologist. I recommend everyone do it. If I could do it, you can do it. And so if you've had especially if it's traumatic experience. And I never want to say that your trauma isn't real, but if you've had that traumatic experience, seek professional help. Don't seek a UAP medical website or any of that shit or a hypnotherapist. Go seek professional help.
I got a homeless guy on the corner with some crystals. I talked to him.
I bet he's a blast.
You never know who you're going to talk to that day.
Yeah, I bet. It depends on who's being channeled through the crystals, I suppose.
Or if it's meth or fentanyl. Some days he's a real conversationalist, some days not so much.
Yeah, and I mean, those can be different dimensions he's accessing. Who knows, man?
Maybe.
Who knows,
I think I'm more on the loose side of things with when it comes to UFOs now. I think I mentioned this on
which Lou?
What? Sorry,
so many Lou's UFO.
A lot of Lou's
the Lou here. I think I said it on Friday's show. I was I saw that recent UFO, the silver one on the airplane that the model took the video of.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always got massive issues with UFO clips when they're like 10 seconds. Like there's no reason why that lady stopped that video as soon as it disappeared. There would have been some sort of reaction after it. There would have been you'd have turned your phone around to the pilot, or if she was
turned it to my face and go, what
the co-pilot, like what was that? What was going on?
Especially a model like that, she would have captured her own reaction.
Yeah, and if it was fast as well, but I mean, I've had to photograph Formula One cars. It's really difficult photographing and videoing fast things. But the more this, like, it feels like the more we have like crazy smartphones with crazy cameras, the less UFOs we're seeing, and the less clear. It used to be in the 60s when it was
Because they're
just,
aware that we have that technology now.
but yeah, or it's just more difficult to
Maybe.
pull the wool over people's eyes.
Yeah.
But I mean, when I was looking at that on Twitter, I was there thinking to myself, if these were real things that were flying around, that were swooping aircraft, that were flying low to the ground where people could see them, there would be, if you typed in UFO, there would be a live feed of people seeing these things, taking photographs of them. Like if you have a celebrity which is in vogue, you can probably look for the hashtag Kim Kardashian and see pictures of her right now at whatever restaurant she happens to be in, because some fans have took pictures of her.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only one Kim Kardashian. There should be fucking hundreds of UFOs if we're being visited by extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I know. I literally just Googled UFOs and I was thinking the same thing. Like, yeah, what happened like in the 60s and 50s, we'd get these crystal clear black and white photograph. Like, we're supposed to believe this guy in a truck was carrying a camera in his fucking truck.
Yeah. Are we thinking of the same ones, the black and white ones by the
yeah. You know, and he looks out the window of his car and takes the perfect picture of a UFO
with no shutter speed adjustments or anything like that
at all.
Yeah,
at all. And okay, if it can't be debunked, fine. But how come nobody's taking iPhone photos like that today?
Yeah,
like,
crazy.
We haven't gotten one.
Yeah,
not one, like where people that has stupefied people, you know, like to a sense where those photos stupefy people. Like, I love there's that one, people call it the best UFO photo ever taken, and it's like an aerial photo of Brazil or something like that. It's like a top-down photo, and in this photo you see a disc.
Yeah.
And it's like a black and white photo, and I saw somebody do a breakdown on this, and that disc is the flash bulb from where cameras used to have those big flashes.
It's reflected on like a glass panel or a glass floor. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of photos like that if you're a genuine photo expert, there's some really, really great explanations here. Yeah, I've got that GIF. I've got that that photo.
The classic tree hugger.
Yeah. Right.
Billy Myers stuck to a tree. And this here, I mean, I've always been kind of intrigued by Bob Lazar. I loved the video you did, by the way, Lou. It was amazing.
Horrible, because I really want to believe.
Yeah, I'm jealous of you. I'm jealous of the editing, actually.
I mean,
yeah, your editing's awesome.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I want to believe him too, you know, and I think this is a great way to do it. You know, get him in front of Eric Weinstein. At the least we can do is get him in front of Eric Weinstein. Let's have a real physics conversation. Let's see how much science Bob really knows. Because if he blows Eric Weinstein
would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, if he blows Eric Weinstein out of the water and makes Eric Weinstein go, oh shit, this guy is for real, then I will fucking make another video saying how wrong I was. No problem doing that whatsoever. I got no problem being wrong on this. I want to be wrong on this. I'm dying to be wrong on this because it would be cool. It would be really cool. But you know what else is really cool? Human technology. And I think we should be giving it up to ourselves a lot of times. Like, I think we make cool shit all the time, and we really don't give ourselves enough credit. And so yeah.
My issue has never been like him talking about it, because he does seem, other than him being on Joe Rogan with the migraine, but he does seem quite credible when he's speaking, especially when you look at him in the past. But this has always been the problem for me. This bloody tree hugging UFO that they've classically used, and I think, had he known that the Billy Myers, because Billy Myers, when did he first do it? It was like years before,
like 70s. Yeah,
70s. But it's not just Billy Myers, is it? Because before Billy, you had sci-fi. You know,
Yeah.
and that is a classic. That is the day the Earth stood still again. You know, that's the disc.
Yep. Yeah. It doesn't. It's
That's gone now. It's outdated.
yeah. It's not. It's not a far leap to figure out how Bob Lazar came up with the sport model.
Hmm.
You know, like it doesn't. You know, you don't have to go too far back in his time period. And if you go really far back, you could go as far back as the 20s and 1910s. They were doing comic books with the saucers and shit like that in it, you know. And you know what's cool about that too is like in comic books, they had rockets that used to take off and land the same way. And that was pure science fiction. And now look at us, like, you know, we've got rockets that could take off and land the exact same way. So I think humans have a very good imagination, and I think the imagination fuels actual science and progress. Like I think when Gene Roddenberry wrote Star Trek and was writing about warp drives and shit like that, he had the science background to sort of theorize and talk to the people that were also thinking about these things. But it's pure science fiction. And now here we are, you know, 60, 70 years later, and we're going, okay, warp drives might actually be within our realm. Like we might actually be able to crack something like that. And maybe not a warp drive as fast as, say, you know, Star Trek, but if you can get 3/4 the speed of light, you can get to our nearest star system within 80 years. That's somebody's lifetime. If definitely the next lifetime will be able to look and collect at the data, you know, and those things they're on their way. So yeah, man,
You would need a massive fucking shield in front of that ship to go at the speed of light or anywhere near that speed.
Well, who's to say that the ship, it has to be a ship? You know, it could be a small satellite.
A probe, something.
Or probe. Yeah. You know, like if aliens are sending von Neumann probes here, which is very possible.
It could be a rogue probe with some basic AI or advanced algorithm systems, really, which AI is, and a 3D printer on board that can harvest material and continue.
Yeah. And or it could even be microscopic. I mean, we might not even be able to see it or detect it in any way. You know, so there's always that. It's fun. Again, fun to think about, but I just need proof, you know, and then then the conversation gets really fun once that stuff starts popping in. Like, and that's why I don't consider myself a skeptic, man, because like please be wrong on this. Like I'll be happy to eat crow on this one if I'm wrong. I just based off what I've seen, what I've experienced, the stories I've heard, sort of the stupidity behind the scenes. I'm like, man, this just seems like a really good distraction.
I said this on the last
great distraction
on the interview that you did with me. I appreciate you because of not just because of what you did, but it for me added an element of this guy really doesn't give a fuck. You care more about your mental health than a fucking YouTube channel. You care more about the community listening to bullshit by doing what you did. So for me, that speaks volumes. So anybody that says a bad word against you, to me, they can fuck off because I get you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
I do. Well, I do and I don't because I don't think I'd have got rid of the channel. All us three we spoke about this. Like we found it weird, found it strange, crazy. In fact, but I don't think anybody can turn around and say you've done this for monetary value. You know, that's bullshit.
No. Anybody who says that I was in it for the money clearly isn't paying attention.
Doesn't know how much YouTube advertising gives.
Well, it's not even. I mean, like I was doing pretty good. Not off just the advertising, not really. I mean, nobody really makes money off of advertising on YouTube.
Not unless you
But
PewDiePie.
but the super chats and the Patreon, like all of that stuff was really strong enough for me to quit my job, you know, and start doing the show 5 days a week, essentially. You know, it barely was able to quit my job. I would still have to pick up shifts to do odd shit here and there. But it was better than working in a restaurant. It was better than, you know, doing Lyft or Uber. So, you know, like, yeah, man, I didn't want to give that up. I knew as soon as the Big Phone Home 3 was over that I had to blow it up. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that. I knew I was going to lose a lot of money and a lot of support. And I knew a lot of people were going to hate me. I knew that. Going into it, but I didn't care. I was like, I felt like I was stealing from people at that point.
What? Because you didn't believe it?
Right.
Yeah.
And also I felt like I had, in some ways, motivated people down a rabbit hole that I never intended for them to go down.
Do you think you were used?
I feel used. I feel used. You know, I don't know if it was intentional, but it definitely feels that way.
No, because I find it, like, especially with the Lou thing, Alessandro, obviously. There seems to be something tactical in the way he goes about things and the way, like, the shows he goes on. And I said quite early on that when he was going on like smaller YouTube channels, before he was the, if it's not him, it's Corbell, isn't it? That's rolled out for CNN. I feel that he was using YouTube channels as media training for himself, whether that was somebody else telling him, you could do with this before we start putting you on national television, or whether he realized it on his own that he could use this as a way to finesse himself into being the character that he wanted to be when more eyes saw him. But
or sell the book.
Or sell. Well, I mean, long before the book. Like there's a reason. There has to be a reason why this came out in the way it did now, and the way it's been presented in such a credible way. Because there is some element out there that for some reason wants people to believe these things are extraterrestrial.
Here's why I don't think it was media training. I think it was more of testing the waters of that podcast world to see, okay, who's not going to question the story? Who's not going to push back?
Right.
I think that's what it really was. And who's going to help us promote this idea? And I think I was perfect for that because my show didn't lean into the woo. We never leaned into the woo, and I never gave people answers. I never told them I knew the truth, and I just never did that shit. I never put my experience on the table as fact. I never ever did that for the show. But I think my philosophy and my thinking at the time and my idea behind the Big Phone Home, and you know, again, like even when I came on this show, I was like, dude, guys, I haven't seen this happen in 50 years on a congressional level. And to me, that's exciting. And I'd rather look at this moment, and I could still look at that moment and go, well, at least I tried to do something. At least I did something. I put pen to paper, and I actually motivated people to get off their ass and make some phone calls and send an email or tweet at someone, a lawmaker. So for me, like, I can look back at this time and go, well, shit, I fucking tried. Like, I tried. Now, what other people did with that time, up to you. But the philosophy and the way I was thinking, I think, was perfect for them. It was perfect because for me, it was like, I was saying things like it's a bipartisan issue. It's a Republican and Democratic issue. Like both people can get into the room. Hillary Clinton, Marco Rubio, both talk about UFOs. What else can they agree on based off of that one conversation or that one interest, mutual interest? I was saying things like, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Like I was very logical with how I thought the information is coming out. It's going to be slow. It's going to be methodical. It's not going to be when you want it or how you want it, but we're getting something, in forms of UAP hearings, in form of congressional laws being written, in forms of and again, thinking that, oh man, this is going to not only help national security, but shit, maybe we're going to get some real answers, substantive answers on the UFO part of this discussion. And then once it became very, very clear that there was no other part to that this was the main issue. That's kind of what just like, it was putting on the glasses for me, and like They Live, like all of the advertisement went black and white and I just saw consume, and it was like, so yeah, like I think he was testing the waters to see what podcasts would help promote that kind of stuff. I think my show was the best at it. It wasn't crazy woo, and it was just trying to stick to what we knew. What are the facts? What do we know? Here's what's real. There's something in the sky. Our military's chased it. They've gotten it on radar, and I think clearly they have more and better data. Let's try and petition them to see if we can see it. So I was trying to do things in which I'm sure they preferred. They did not want Storm Area 51.
Yeah.
When I first pitched them the Big Phone Home, I remember Cahill going, I fucking hate the name. It makes me think of E.T. I'm like, okay, fine, but I've already designed the fucking poster and I've already done everything, and you guys aren't really helping me. So like, it's gonna be the Big Phone Home. Sorry, the website's already been fucking made. Like, too late. You're giving me that.
It's a genius name.
I think
It's great. I think it's fucking awesome. It's an awesome name. Like, sure, who gives a shit if it makes you think about ET? Great, but if anything, it's a call to action. It's call our home, our House of Representatives, Congress. Like, there's so many layers to it. I thought it was a great idea, but whatever. What was I going to go with that? But yeah, like remembering like Cahill being like, yeah, I fucking hate that idea. It was just like I'm doing this for you guys. Like, I'm doing this for you. I don't have to do this shit. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just interested to see when the dust settles what the whole reason for this was. I don't think I'll be shocked. And maybe I won't even be upset because, again, like I've said, like if Elizondo used me to legitimately make America safer, I'm good with that. Like,
I think it's all or nothing. I think it's either.
I'm good with that.
I think we're either going to end up with this, like you say, this just fizzling away, and it all gets explained away. That's there, or it's full on fucking Project Bluebeam. Like the preparing for fake alien invasion. It's one side or another. Like the But I can see how you got wrapped up though in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean you waiting a table with and waiting Lou Elizondo's table and then getting wrapped up in that. Like, you went from waiting a table to being fucking Fox Mulder all of a sudden. It must have been really exciting.
It was great. It was exciting. It was like when I was talking to Corbell, when I was talking, and he was telling me, oh man, we're going to get you on Coast to Coast. I'm like, what? Yeah. Like, I never thought I'd ever get on that show. That sounds awesome. Cool. I'm here whenever you need me. Cahill was telling me things like, hey, would you be interested in doing news hits like on Fox or CNN? I'm like, sure. I'm like, I told him, like, I straight up said this. I'm like, look, like, don't need this. Just so you guys know, like I'm doing my show. I'm an actor. I've got other shit going on. If you guys need my help in that way, I'd be more than happy to help you. But I mean, do you guys want me on CNN? You know what I mean? Like I was even questioning that. But like, those are the things that I think if they told me that, they probably definitely told some other people that. And got people excited. Hey, we're going to get you in this interview with this guy. We're going to get you this interview with that guy. And I think those interviews happen. You see the shows that they go on. You see the shows they don't go on. And it's crystal clear. Like, if there's any difficult questions that are legitimate and thrown at them, they no longer go back on those shows. Period. Full stop. Greenwald, the progressive, forgetting the name of his Zach Seichi's podcast, John Greenwald's podcast, Stephen Greenstreet. Like, there are so many people that have pushed this narrative as hard as they can in the most polite way that they can, the most professional way that they can. Some not professional, but for the most part professional. And the ones that have been professional, at the very least, should have the opportunity to talk to you again, and should have the opportunity to ask you these questions. And, you know, up to you on how, and if you even answer, you know, like, no one says you have to answer anything, but the fact that you won't even put yourself in a position anymore. Like, you are actively ignoring the difficult questions. And I think that's why he also tells all of his interviews, ask me anything you want, go for it. Oh, I'm an open book. So that way, when you do ask the questions he doesn't like, he could check it off and go, okay, we're never doing that show again. Next one, you know, let's move on to the next. And you see all of those shows.
How did you get involved with Corbell?
So the first Big Phone Home, it was trending. People were asking me, like, at one point, somebody tagged Corbell with the hashtag, and he's like, I don't know what this is, but if somebody wants to explain it to me, I'm interested. And I was like, hey, it's my event, you know, here's what's going on. And so that's how we got Corbell to be a part of the first Big Phone Home. And at the time, like, on my channel, I had, I think, 5 or 6 videos dedicated to about Bob Lazar being full of shit. Like, that was on my channel, and he still came on. And I don't think he was aware of it until after the phone home, because after the event, radio silence from that guy. He stopped basically talking to me, even though I would hit him up every once in a while, and I wasn't like annoying with it. You know, I don't like reaching out to people for anything on that kind of shit. You know, I'm always very selective with how I reach out to people. If I'm reaching out to them, it's because I'm genuinely, you know, not, I don't want to say trying to get something out of them, but just like, you know, usually when you're having a conversation with somebody like that, you are looking for something, you know? And so I never wanted to be the guy who was always looking and asking for, hey, can you come on? Hey, can you do this? Hey, what about this? Hey, what about that? What do you think of this? What do you think of that? I never did shit like that. It was just like, cool,
Nobody
man.
likes that guy.
Nobody likes that guy. And I don't want to be that guy, you know? So, you know, and just like I said, like, I think the last time I was on, like, being an actor in Los Angeles, like, you have to be cool around these, you know, around higher status, whatever that be, you know, like, you just have to be cool. You can't geek out over somebody, you know, that you love. You might fucking love their shit, but you just don't geek out, dude. Be cool, be professional. And so that's the way I did it with all of them, everyone. Like, people think I had a great relationship with Lou. I spoke to him the 7 times he was on my show, and maybe 3 times through text, 4 times through text outside of those shows, and outside of our first initial meeting. I never bothered that dude. I never ever bothered that dude. So that's how Corbell was part of the like, and there was a lot of drama that he like was stirring up. You know, he didn't want to do. He was very nervous that Jeremy Reese was on the show, Alien Scientist, and he's like, I can't do a show if that guy's part of your show.
I love Jeremy.
And I told him, I was like, well, he's helping us with our event. I mean, and I asked him to be part of it. you know, and at, you know, I didn't know anybody at the time. I was just trying to get out as many people to use the hashtag and help the event get as much attention as possible. So I didn't know anyone in UFO Twitter when I did the first Big Phone Home. And so
That
I
must have
didn't
been a
know.
beautiful time.
Oh, it was amazing. Amazing. So I didn't know all the beefs between people. And that was the first beef that I was made aware of. And man, it was bad. But I basically had talked Jeremy. I was like, look, Jeremy, I can't judge somebody because he was telling me, oh, he beat up his girlfriend, he's been arrested, this and that. And I was like, oh, fuck, dude. Like, first of all, I didn't know. And then I started when I hung up, especially, and I started thinking about the things he was saying about Jeremy Reese. I was like, that shit shouldn't really matter. If he did get arrested for this heinous thing, he's been to prison, he's served time, and that means he's paid his debt back to society. And I can't judge someone off of their worst moment of their life and based off of what you're telling me. You want me to judge someone based off of what you're I don't know this person. I'm getting to know this person, and I want to give them the opportunity to show me who they are and show me if they're a scumbag or if they're a liar or if they're whatever. I'll always give people the opportunity to show me who they really are. And I had to explain that to Jeremy Corbell. And I was like, I'm, you know, like, you're kind of putting me in a tough spot. I was like, I can make sure you guys are nowhere near each other, you know, in the stream. And I can make sure, and I promise you, he will not be on the screen when you're on the screen. That I could do. But I'm not going to tell him he can't be on the show. And
isn't it funny though?
Well,
the Jeremy Corbell tries to find out as much about his enemies as possible that he can, so he can hit as hard as he can.
Yeah, it's a lot of them seem to do, and that's what I love about me. Like, I'm an open book, man. I don't have an arrest record. I've never said anything racist to anybody. You won't find a post or me in a fucking as a LARPer or sock puppets. You won't find any of that shit for me. Nowhere.
See, I'm the other way. I've said everything. I can't hide
You
from
said everything.
Yeah. So it's fine.
You know, so they've tried and they've cocked up and like I told you, Ollie, a couple of weeks ago, it's the only subculture I've ever walked into where the label of racist or misogynist has been put on me, just like that. Like it's nothing. Nowhere else in my life has that ever happened except for here in ufology. And it's so strange. Like it's wild. It's wild. It's absolutely wild.
But it's especially something like that. I mean, if don't get me wrong, I'm not condoning violence against women or anything like that. But when you're talking about a conversation between that, people are trying to essentially strong arm a government into releasing information that maybe the world is being visited by extraterrestrial life forms, then maybe the people problems should be put on the back burner for a second. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It feels like a rather large thing, but it's just egos, isn't it? That's the problem. It's that's it. It's egos.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of egos in it. It's a lot of egos, man. Like I had to quell so many, like that first phone home, it was just so eye-opening to the community. Like I was like, these people are fucking nuts, man. Like it's gonna be interesting. And like for the first, I'd say 6 or 7 months, I felt like I was untouchable on Twitter. Like I was like, oh shit, I'm doing a really good job of sort of not getting involved in this shit. And I guess that's a good thing. And somewhere along the line that changed completely, where I was like, fuck, I got suckered into this bullshit. And so, yeah, now I've just like blocked everyone and I'm trying to be as least controversial as I can on Twitter and just kind of use it to promote the shows and and
If
get
you did
initiatives
another
out there.
one, if you did do another one, would you be more selective on
Another
you-
what? Phone home?
Yeah,
I wouldn't do another one.
never say never.
Never.
Big phone home to phone harder.
Phone
He's already done. It'd be the big phone home 4, would it not?
Yeah, it would be big phone home for
sorry.
The
phone
dialing.
harder. Yeah, the dialing.
That's
fuck.
Phone home 4, the
Yeah.
dialing.
Yeah.
That's
I love
phone
it.
with a vengeance.
No, that's phone home 5.
That's phone home 5. Phone home 6 is just
leave a
dead tone.
message.
Yeah.
Leave a message.
Phone home 6. This time it's personal.
This time it's
Phone home 7. Beep.
Yeah. Phone home 8, leave a message. Yeah, we could do this all day. Hilarious.
ET's fucked off.
Yeah. Phone home 10, ET is fucked off. I love it.
Photon 9, will you accept the charges?
Yeah. Oh fuck. Remember 1-800-COLLECT?
Yes.
I was listening to these girls the other day talking, and they're like, I can't imagine what it was like in the 90s without your phone. I'm like, I would call my mom 1-800-COLLECT, and the part where it says record your name, I'd say, Mom, pick me up at the mall. So that way she didn't have to accept the charges.
Yep.
And then she would know to come pick me up at the mall. That's funny. I don't know what made me think of that, but anyway.
But do you think it's a shame that this is kind of dominated like ufology now? Because that's it's kind of what it has changed, and it's. I mean, even this now, like we're kind of maybe talking about it disparagingly. Is in like the whole scenario. We're still talking about it, and it seems to be it's all encompassing. It seems to be you've got 2 different types of UFO channels now. You have UFO channels that talk about the like government releases of UFO stuff and Alessandro and Bob Lazar stuff. That's
and disclosure around the corner.
Yeah, or you have UFO channels that put fake videos of UFOs out. There seems to be that they are the 2 ways now to gain interest in the subject.
Because they're sexy, they're fun. There's no like, who wants to listen to the guy yelling about how this is all bullshit?
Oh yeah, no, I get it, but it seemed like there was more variety to this stuff a while ago. Like I want to even just like conspiracy stuff in general, because that's always been my thing, has been conspiracy theories. Like even if I didn't believe them, I can listen to a 4-hour podcast about flat Earth and buy into it like I'm watching WrestleMania. And then as soon as it's finished, I can turn it off and then carry on with the rest of my day.
Yeah.
But it feels that it's been squashed now and compressed into what
molded.
Yeah, what for want of better words, like what the mainstream idea of this subject is now.
I don't know if I agree. I think there's an endless variety of paranormal shows out there that lean into the mystery, into the woo of it. Endless variety of them. I don't think there's enough legitimately critical shows that point out the flaws in these things. They're out there. They're just, I feel like they're a little more difficult to consume for a multitude of reasons. And so that's what I'm trying to figure out now, is how to make a channel that is fun to watch, informative,
grounded,
and grounded in reality, but is also educating the viewer on the rabbit hole, making them aware of what it looks like, the pitfalls that people tend to fall into when it comes to this. And Bob Lazar is number 1. That's why I made the Bob Lazar video. And that's why, because I thought, for me,
is the hashtag trending yet. Sorry, but is it?
Oh yeah. Well, it was trending for a couple days, or at least the first day. It got to a point where if you put in Lazar,
I think my
it would
retweet did quite well.
Lazar to. It would fill out Lazar to Congress or Lazar and Weinstein.
Nice.
But with it, here's the thing. Making the video, I was going into it. I was like, okay, Bob Lazar to Congress is a pipe dream. That'll never happen. It'll never happen. But it should. But just because it'll never happen doesn't mean the reasons behind why it shouldn't happen aren't valid. And that's why I referenced Jeremy Corbell and his name being referenced in a congressional UAP hearing. And when Jeremy Corbell is doing interviews with active lawmakers, okay, well, if Jeremy Corbell is informing Congress and influencing Congress to write laws and pass bills and spend money, then Jeremy Corbell should be called into Congress to answer what information is he giving and why. And also Bob Lazar should be called into Congress, because if what he's saying is true, Congress should know about those secret access programs. They should know about them. And Bob Lazar, Jeremy Corbell, and George Knapp are the three people that are pushing this as truth. Okay, cool. If it's true, let's get you in Congress. Pipe dream, but that's what I'm going to lead with. The thing that I was really trying to get happen was Lazar to sit down with Weinstein. That was the goal of that video. And within 24 hours, not even, within 12 hours of that video being released, we got Eric Weinstein to publicly come out and say, okay, I'm ready to sit down with Bob Lazar and have a discussion with him, and tag Joe Rogan in that it was
Who knows
multiple
about, a lot about fit. He's a clever man.
He's a mathematician, right? And he said that if Bob Lazar is a physicist, we should be able to find out pretty quickly. And so fuck it. Let's get him to sit down, right? Because according to Jeremy Corbell, he'll blow your mind. If you're a scientist and he'll sit down with you, this is what he told. And this is why I played those clips, because everything Corbell's saying is with such confidence / arrogance. He's so confident about it. Okay, great. You're so fucking confident. Then let's get you in front of Congress. But fuck that, really. Let's get you in front of Eric Weinstein. Let's have you guys explain the physics to him and see
that
if
would
he
be
buys
the biggest Joe Rogan show, I think.
For ufology, for sure. Because I think,
I think it would be one of the biggest. Because he's definitely
it's Bob Lazar.
recognized for that.
It's Bob Lazar. But it'll never happen. It'll never happen. It'll never happen.
What if it does? Would you eat Baby Yoda?
Yeah, I'll eat Baby Yoda. Fuck yeah.
So
I'll eat Baby Yoda. But then I'll do a show. I'll do a show right after it, though. I think my hope here, the hope of making that video was for Joe Rogan to lose access, or excuse me, for Jeremy Corbell to lose access to the platform that is Joe Rogan. If Joe Rogan can, now he's got to know. Now he's behind the scenes. I'm sure that phone call has been made or the text has been sent. Yo, Jeremy, let's get Lazar and Weinstein together. People are asking for it. Or I want to have this conversation. You, me, Weinstein, let's do it. And
it has to
be. And I have a feeling that it's not going to happen right away. It's going to take a couple of months of asking and not showing up before. My hope is that eventually Rogan comes out and says, we tried to get a conversation between you and Jeremy Corbell and Bob Lazar. Eric, I'm sorry, it just didn't happen. We couldn't make it happen. For some reason, Lazar just won't come. If that happens, fucking huge win. Huge win. Because now it is definitively 100% bullshit. You've been called out by the mathematician. You've been called out by the podcast that you've used for multiple years to push your agenda and your movies and your bullshit. If he loses access to that, huge win.
But wouldn't you love it if Lazar went on and fucking destroyed him?
I would. But that's not happening because Bob Lazar doesn't have the scientific fucking know-how to do any of that. He lied about where he went to school. He lied about everything. And I know and John Greenwald is already foying the Naval Academy ball bearing claim that he made in that at that conference. Funnily enough, nobody foiled that. Nobody foiled that claim. So that was another thing that came out of that video. That's already a win. Even if that's the only thing that happened, I consider that a win. To find out that claim of Bob Lazar working with the Naval Academy to clean out sand from ball bearings and hovercraft, like, that's bullshit. United Nuclear Scientific Equipment and Supplies had no contract with the Naval Academy. And we're going to FOIA it, and we're going to find out 100% definitively for sure. And we're going to tag Jeremy Corbell when that FOIA request comes back. We're going to ask him to answer why he lied about, and we won't get any answers, and it'll be a big ignore party. But like I said, like, if he doesn't get to go on Joe Rogan ever again because he got caught in a lie, awesome. And if we can get Joe Rogan to start thinking a little bit more logically about this UFO conversation, awesome.
I think it's interesting how, because I'm a big Rogan fan. I think it's interesting how Rogan's kind of pulled back from the UFO thing without pulling back from it, because it's, he's just
done it,
well, he's not been having the people on his podcast anymore, but there's a fucking UFO in the logo behind him when he sits doing the podcast. He's got one on his desk. He's just called his new comedy club the UFO Mothership.
Yeah.
Sorry, the Comedy Mothership.
He's into the topic, and that Corbell documentary sucked him back in, because before that documentary, he was really skeptical of it. He was like, I've done my show. I've done the UFO thing, and every answer I gotten has been bullshit until that documentary came out. That documentary, it was sexy. It was shot very well. The cinematography is really, really good. And then you throw layered in with.
I keep saying that as well.
Yeah,
everyone destroys that documentary. I think it's a really well-made film.
It was so well fucking done.
It's a film. But how many times have you watched it?
Maybe 3.
I've watched it about 3.
Maybe go back and I've watched it. Well, on the second and third time I watched it, I started seeing the bullshit. Like, for me, the first 7 minutes of the film are a huge red flag.
Yeah.
You've got a documentary filmmaker making a film about somebody. In the first 7 minutes of the film are Jeremy Corbell.
Yeah.
In the bathroom reading fake texts from Bob Lazar. So there's nothing documentary about that. It's a fake scene. It's a movie.
It's a film. It's a film in the style of what you get in the History Channel.
I think it's more of a mockumentary than it is a documentary. Either way, the thing that I will give Corbell, he is very good at editing and cinematography.
Yeah.
And he's even he's pretty decent at writing. He single-handedly made the UFO film industry change.
Yes.
Because now if you don't make a documentary that at least looks as sexy and is as eye appealing, as much eye candy as the Lazar documentary, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
No, ain't nobody gonna buy it, ain't nobody gonna watch it.
Anybody who slags off the way he's made that film is jealous. That it's as simple. You have no editing skills whatsoever.
The other thing I'd argue as well is that I don't think anybody's made a UFO documentary that could have gone on Netflix. It's all well and good licensing something to sell it on Amazon. We can all sell on Amazon if we want to. But to get something that's took up by Netflix is massive.
Yeah.
I look forward to his next documentary. I'm sure it'll be really entertaining.
No, I'll watch it. I'll watch it for sure. But this time I'll review it. And I think maybe
that's what you do. Reviews.
I think going back and doing a retrospective review on that film is probably necessary. Although there are some great, like, I think Robot Head did the best deconstruction of the Bob Lazar film that I've ever seen. I highly recommend everybody check that. And that's not a UFO channel. That guy usually does Star Wars content. But he was so pissed off at this Lazar documentary that he did a video about it, and it was great. But yeah, I think again, like, being able to maybe take the ability away from him to promote his next bullshit film on Joe Rogan would be huge. Because here's the thing: is is going to come up with another film, and he's going to ask Rogan, "Hey, could we come on and promote this new movie, man?" And
I
Rogan's
think
going to
he'll
be
ask
like,
Rogan if he'll be in it.
"No, no, he won't.
I
He
think
won't.
he'll
No.
definitely.
Rogan. I think Rogan would say no.
he would
that
definitely have clips from the podcast.
maybe use the footage from the show. Yeah, possibly, absolutely. But I think Corbell will be asking him for something before it goes the other way around. Rogan doesn't need anything from Corbell. Corbell would need things from Rogan. So I think the request would go, "Hey, can I promote the new film? I'll send you a copy. It's gonna be awesome. Yeah, I love the movie. Let's bring Bob and I'll bring Eric and we'll do the show."
I think there's another thing.
And
I hadn't
I
thought
don't
of
think he
this.
answers it. I don't think he answers that call.
I hadn't thought of this before we started talking about the Rogan and Lazar and Weinstein thing. It is odd that from everyone that's been, because obviously like Lex Friedman, big friends of Rogan, and he gets a lot of guests fed to him through, you'll see lots of repeat guests from the JRE to his podcast. I think he's had, apart from Bigelow and Travis Walton, which I can accept that because I think he's a bit woo-woo for Lex Friedman. But as far as like the legitimate people that are supposed to be like purveyors of truth, he's had everyone that Rogan's had, he's had on, apart from Bob Lazar, and Jeremy Corbell hasn't been anywhere near it either. So that's interesting because I think he would be another person as well that if you stuck a non-scientist in front of him, he would not fare well.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Yeah, I'd love to see Lazar in front of Lex Friedman, because if there's any person that would actually maybe even exert the patience for a Bob Lazar, it would be Lex. But I think at some point Lex is going to ask him some deep cutting, hard hitting questions, and he just wouldn't be able to answer, man, because he doesn't have the background to do so. Yeah, I don't think it'll happen. And I think, again, we won't know how big a win this video is for probably a year. If we don't see Corbell on Rogan in the next year, I think we'll know why. I think we'll know why. And again, huge win. If we do see Corbell on Rogan and this is never brought up again, ouch. That would suck. That'd be a huge blow, because that means that Rogan has bought it hook, line, and sinker.
That's what I find odd about it, because he's he's dismantled Greer before on the podcast. But whenever somebody brings up, I find it weird that he's still on to Bob, and he talks about Lazar like he's been told something that he can't say.
I just don't think he's done his research.
No, he probably hasn't. But this is the thing: he has people that will have done. I find that interesting. Oh, I mean, don't get me wrong. It could also be the fact that it's that you don't promote it, you keep it on the burner, because at the end of the day, it's a business. And if he's not, Joe Rogan is in the entertainment industry, he's not in the entertainment of UFO disclosure, and it's like, look, we don't have to promote Bob Lazar every 10 minutes, but if we're gonna stick him on and make X amount of millions through however many downloads and whatever the advertising happens to be that day, so be it. It's one fucking show. We'll do a really good one the next one where we're really informative. But for that show, we're Space Town, we're Spaceman.
Dave, did you ever believe Lazar?
Yeah. And I wouldn't know that I'm so hard against him. I mean, I don't know. I haven't looked into his background. I haven't looked into his history or any of that kind of jazz. I don't know what science he does or doesn't have, but I have friends that work on contracts that they're pretty questionable dudes, and they don't get a paycheck from the government, but they get a paycheck from a company that's contracted to a company that works for the government. So could that be it? I don't know. Maybe. I also know guys that were guards at Area 51, and I've asked every one of them about S4, and they've all been. I've never seen it or heard anything about that. And they spend a lot of time driving around the desert. Most of the time when they're harassing the UFO watchers and they're trying to run us off. Here's the fact: they are bored out of their fucking minds, and you are the most entertaining thing they've seen all day. They can't wait to drive out there and watch you.
Yeah.
Watching you is the highlight of the week.
Yeah.
When you're talking a 12-hour shift in binoculars with another guy farting in a car, or those badass Raptors they have now, they would give anything. Like it. That's a huge thing.
So Storm Area 51, they all got excited as fuck.
They probably did, dude. They're like, oh my god, this is gonna be awesome.
Can't wait to knock somebody out.
Yeah, we gotta throw them to the ground. No. We're actually gonna take it very easy. This is a publicity thing. Well, shit. At least we're not gonna be bored, but we are gonna dress some of you up and send you out into the crowd. Yay!
That's wow.
Yeah, that's
they definitely did that.
It is amazing, isn't it? How that Storm Area 51 went from an insurrection to poor man's Burning Man really quickly. Yeah.
Well, I think the best summation of that whole event is the Rolling Stone article that was written about Jeremy Corbell at the exact same time of that event. It is very enlightening.
He spoke about that on
very
Weaponized,
enlightening.
Did he? He spoke. He spoke
made a whole
about
episode
it.
on it, didn't he?
He made a whole episode, and then he kept I've never read the article. I need to read it.
You should read
I
it.
want to now. Yeah,
it's a long one. But
he was saying basically, oh yeah, we're buddies. He's just kind of like it's just.
Oh yeah, he did reference that.
Yeah, he did. He made out they were buddies, and there was kind of like a bit of banter there, and it was a bit weird how he was.
He's kind of a weird dude, though. I got to be honest. Like I've never met the man, but he seems strange.
He definitely takes a lot of mushrooms by his own admission, and you read about that in the Rolling Stone article. So if you want to question why he sees a lot of UFOs, that's why. He does a ton of mushrooms, and he even invited.
I know some people like that.
He invited the writer to take mushrooms. I think the last sentence of the article is something along the lines of, and then Jeremy Corbell looks at me and he says, "All right, you ready to see some UFOs?" And he had like a bag of mushrooms in his hand. The whole article is a really beautiful insight into who Jeremy Corbell is. Really, really wonderful insight. And how sad that event was.
Just from their own admission, it sounded pretty sad.
It was sad city, baby. And that article is a perfect encapsulation of everything that was happening at that, because he did the interview with Corbell at Storm Area 51. So Corbell, in the article, Corbell was he wrote as if Corbell was walking around and really nervous that this event wasn't going to live up to the hype that he put it up to, because he really pumped the shit out of Storm Area 51. And he then put like a separate event from the actual Storm Area 51, and he wanted to do a concert, and he invited this band, and there was no one there. And the band was like, "What the fuck, Jeremy? Like, we gotta, like, we don't want to play in front of this."
Did Paul Oakenfold turn up?
I don't. Who's Paul Oakenfold?
He's a British
Oakenfold
DJ.
DJ.
Paul Oakenfold, yeah.
He's
maybe
British.
if he's buddies with Corbell, maybe that was the guy. I don't know if it was a DJ or a band or whatever. I can't remember. It's been a few months since I've read the article, but I know Dave Foley from the Kids in the Hall was in the bus, the trailer bus that Corbell was sitting in. And this interview was happening in, and the description of this bus is fucking hilarious. Like, he really describes the bus, what Corbell's wearing, what's going on, the conversations he's having on the phone with his mom, the things he's overhearing him say. It's, you know, and how it like it makes Corbell look very unfocused. He seemed really scattered during this interview, and it's probably because he was freaking out that he just put a whole bunch of money and asked a whole bunch of his friends to invest their time into this event that was going to be mind-blowing, man. It's going to be the biggest thing ever. It's going to be like fucking, I'm sure he sold it as like Coachella but for aliens, man.
That's what I was going to
know?
say. Do you think he had an idea of some sort of franchised event in his head?
Yes. Yes, and that fizzled out fucking fast.
But where's I don't understand the Knapp thing. I don't understand the why George Knapp would even bother. You know, he's done his bit. He's got his money.
A lot of money, and he continues to make a lot of money. He's a producer on Corbell's films. You know, he gets a cut of those residuals that Netflix pays him and those contracts that he's signing, and he gets a cut every time that movie's sold on Amazon or through the website.
I'll tell you something else as well. I bet
a lot of money.
I bet cutting about with Jeremy Corbell all over the country, like pretending to be alien hunters, sounds fun as fuck.
I gotta be honest. I'd do mushrooms with him. It sounds like a great time.
I would too.
I
would
awesome.
too.
You want to go in the desert? Yeah, Jeremy, let's go, man.
Fuck yeah, let's do it.
It's gonna be awesome.
And I'm
keep
sure
your pants on, Jeremy. Keep your pants on.
I don't know what the relationship. I don't know what the relationship status of George Knapp is. But if you've done any, I don't want to say this because I'd be really speculating. But I would just say look into Corbell's background. He's very liberal. It feels like he's very liberal in everything, including his relationships. So
boy,
I don't know if, because I know that Knapp and Lazar and fucking
so it's
John
like an investment.
I'm feeling
those
like you're
guys
Jeremy's working the cabana.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think I think Knapp, John Lear, and Bob Lazar were fucking party animals, just absolute degenerates in the 80s and 90s, like just fucking nutty. And I think they got old, and then all of a sudden Corbell comes in, and like this is maybe Knapp's sort of second wind, is his like, you know, his farewell tour, you know. And I think
purely in an investment sense, he might be putting something into Corbell.
Without a doubt, because Corbell has really made the Bob Lazar thing relevant again. He's made it sexy. He's taken it out of the 80s and he's put it into this new generation. And now it's going to survive for another 30 years. And that's what frustrates me. And that's why I made the video I made, because I'm like looking at this. I'm like, no, he shouldn't be able to get away with this shit. And there's got to be a good way to at least try and undercut his platforms for this stuff. And so that's what I'm gonna try and do. I'm gonna fuck with it. I'm gonna hit it where it hurts, man.
It's modern day folklore now, isn't it, Bob Lazar? Modern day folklore.
I don't know if it is. Is it folklore if it's influencing members of Congress? Is it folklore if it's
fairies and goblins and wizards influenced kings?
Yeah, but we're not talking. I see what you're saying, right? And they're like UFOs are the new fairies and goblins. Sure. But are you? I mean, it's like, I guess for me, I'm not gonna sit here and watch the magician feed the king bullshit.
No,
you know? I'm
not saying what you're doing is wrong. I'm just saying like what it for me in the same way as I said to who came on our show, Ollie? Travis Walton's driver, man. What's his name?
Travis Walton is a driver.
Yeah, the driver of the car.
You're talking about
Mike.
Mike. Mike. I'm just saying Mike Tyson. Then Jesus Christ.
Because
Mike Rogers, and we had Steve young Steve, the youngest guy that apparently got abducted.
Yeah.
Not abducted, witnessed it.
Yeah,
We had Mike Rogers.
That's more modern day folklore. You know that.
Yeah.
But they're still sticking up for this to this day, and we don't know why because they hate Travis Walton, which is weird.
That's really.
Well, if you've ever met Travis Walton, it's easy to understand why people hate him.
Yeah, but why stick up for him if you hate him?
Why is
I don't
that?
understand that.
I've never met Travis Walton. What's your experience with him?
He's a douche canoe.
Oh, Dave's met Travis.
Oh, dude, he's such
Give me
a
an
fucking
example.
dill hole, man.
Oh,
Yeah,
give me an example.
I spent just general attitude. The speaking down is kind of condescending with like a third grade vocabulary.
Wow.
It's very awkward. Yeah, and it's just this like
with
go
that
fuck yourself
haircut
presence. With the painted red hair. Yeah.
Yeah, with that
Yeah,
haircut, you got
he's-
the balls to fucking talk down to people. That's funny.
It-
But
it-
that's what
it's
happens
weird.
to people. That's what
Yeah.
happens to people when they get surrounded by people who are like, oh my God, every idea that comes out of your mouth is absolute gold. You know, I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Everything's great
See-
that you say and do. And just
For
creates
me,
a
that's
monster.
how you know they're lying because I know I'm an idiot. As soon as I hear you start saying shit like, "Oh, I got to get new people."
Yeah, I got new people. Yeah, you would think.
My own decisions lead poorly.
Yeah, Mike.
Not
is a
when
nice
it's dude, not when it's making you money. Like, look, I don't know much about the UFO the UFO con circuit, but I do know for universities to hire out, improv teams or like traveling playhouses that do, Shakespeare or whatever like that. They pay thousands and thousands of dollars per person sometimes, depending on what kind of group you are. They pay really great money. So I imagine that, airfare, food, travel, and hotel are all covered when they go to these things, which they should be. But I am dying to know what some of these speaking fees are for like a Jimmy Church and who name them, Travis Taylor, whatever, Travis Walton. Like, I'm sure they're not cheap. You want them at your event, it's going to cost you. Whether that's a piece of the door, a piece of concessions, a piece of merchandise, you're giving me something out of this little con you guys are pulling. It's an income, dude. And you'd be shocked, like I always point at that UFO podcast and those guys, they're making over 100K from that little show. And when you're making that kind of money,
fucking hell, we're doing it wrong.
Yeah, and you have access. You don't want to lose that access. You don't want to rock that money boat. It's a lot. That's a career. That's not just chump change. That's a career, and it grows every month because of the people they have on and the things they talk about. And the part that really chaps my ass, I don't give a shit that they make money. Fine, whatever. You figured out your thing.
Good for them.
But the part that chaps my ass is that they call themselves a science podcast. They're in the science category, which to me is fucking hilarious. And insulting at the same time.
Have they not forgotten to delete that though from the YouTube algorithm, the science bit? Because I did that for a bit when I first started the UFO channel because I thought that's what you've got to. You've got to.
No, look,
it's fucking entertainment, people. It's entertainment.
No, I think, but when you put it on podcasts, there's a very specific. Like when you start the podcast, that they want to know, okay, what kind of podcast are you creating? And
most conspiracy things fall under comedy.
Oh, is that right? I put mine as entertainment because I felt wrong. It felt wrong clicking science. I was like, well, but we're talking about scientific things, but even at my most ardent belief, I still had a hard time categorizing it as a science podcast because I'm like, this ain't fucking science. This is fun. This is entertainment. Let's be 100% clear about that because there's no facts yet. I want facts, and maybe one day we'll be able to change it from entertainment to science podcast because it's been legitimized as science, as real concrete science, but we're not there yet. We're just not.
Makes you wonder whether that'll ever happen because of the time that's passed.
I mean, it doesn't matter, right? Because they get to label their podcast whatever they want. Jeremy Corbell's is a science podcast. That UFO podcast is a science podcast, and there's no class you could take. There's no science category for this.
Even the term ufologist is fucking ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous term. But yeah, so like, you know, we'll see what happens. But I'm gonna do my best to undercut. I'm gonna try and hit Corbell where it hurts, and hit all of these grifters where it hurts, and that's their pocketbook, and call out their grift and make it crystal clear, and not give you my opinion on it, but use their words and their actions. Because if anything, people should walk away from my video going, damn, Jeremy Corbell is fucking gross the way he talked to Stan Friedman.
Yeah, I did.
To me, that was the most insulting part. And I think I think for some reason, I don't know if people missed it, but it's just not something I've been seeing in the comments. I see it, you know, here and there. Mostly people just love the video, but like the reason I've been wanting to make that video for 3 years since I saw that.
Looked a little bit broken after that.
He was broken after that. That debate broke him, and because I think he knew, oh, there's no more logical people left in this conversation. And
was
the contempt.
Was it long after he died?
It was 3 years after that. He
Let's
retired.
not throw that out. Jeremy Corbell did not kill Stan.
He didn't kill Stan Freeman. But I think he, like I said, it affected him. I think it affected him. He wasn't the same after that. He just wasn't. And he was an old guy. He was an old guy. You know, he was getting up there in age. I think he was 90 when he passed away. So, but you know, yeah. But I mean, he
was 90. He looked incredible.
I mean, he was he graduated high school in 1951, so he was probably 17 or 18 in 1950. You know, and add another fucking 70 years on top of that. You know, so like, yeah, he was up there, and he was even in that debate. I mean, he was probably 86 in that debate. Wow. And he was like, his comebacks were so sharp. He was so fucking good. But the fact that, and that's what I just fucking again chapped my ass about. I was like, how has this guy been turned into the idiot on this stage? How did Corbell do this? And it's even, I still don't know how he did it.
Because you had an MC DJ, whatever, on an MC DJ all in one on stage. That's what you had.
Yeah.
He knew how to fucking control that crowd.
No, he knows how to control the crowd, and he knows how to control the conversation.
I do not dislike Jeremy Corbell whatsoever. I lost a lot of respect when I watched that Stanton Freeman shit show. I understand it though. Because he's got a brand. He's got something to sell. Stanton Freeman is sat there trying to take his brand apart. You are not going to get in the way. I get it. Yeah. In fact, it's quite surprising, to be honest, that Jeremy even put himself in the position where that could happen. Yeah. I don't think so. I think they knew exactly what they were going to get from Stanton. I think they knew exactly what Stanton was going to say because he said it 100 times before, but they just never had it in front of a debate. And I think the way he blows the way he was there the day before, but the way Corbell just blows past his questions and writes them off and eye rolls and all of that stuff encourages that audience to be like, this guy's a fucking idiot talking about Stanton. You know, he made him look like a silly old man. That was the shame. Do you think some of those audience there that probably the ones that were the loudest ones were probably the people who didn't really know the history of ufology. They didn't know who Stanton was. They just saw this guy on stage. I don't think you go to a UFO con and not know who Stan Freeman is. Yeah, I agree. I don't think UFO conferences are full of like
Gen
new
Zs.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Like, I don't think people don't wander into UFO cons going, oh, what do we have here? UFO con? I'll take 2 tickets, like nobody's doing that. Like,
I gotta be
they go
honest.
to
I
UFO
did
con-
do that.
Did you?
Hell yeah! I bought VIP. I was like, "What is this? I don't know. I'm gonna get VIP tickets. Why? I don't know. It sounds like it's gonna be fun."
You're a madman.
That's where I met.
Okay, well, you're pretty fucking rare. You're the first person I've ever heard that's ever done that. So
That's how we met.
I stand corrected. That's
It's like,
wild.
what the fuck is this? What's going on?
Yeah,
it was wildly disappointing.
I cannot imagine that even if you booked a hotel where there was a UFO con go, even me, I'd be like, I'm good. Let's go do something else. Like, I would good. Unless like if Stanton Friedman was there, I think I would have got. That's the only regret I have, is never being able to talk to him, because I really would have loved to talk to him. I mean, like that would have. Oh, I would kill to talk to him.
Not only would I'd go in cosplay. I want to meet the fucking craziest of the crazy.
They're there, man.
Yeah. If I was 15 years younger and single, maybe. But yeah, no, I've got just zero interest in go. I even at my most ardent for my shows, like I said no to maybe I think 1 or 2 cons where people were like, "Hey, would you be interested?" I'm like, "I'm good. I can't make it out there." Or I'd come up with some excuse, like. And mostly just because I never wanted to end up on one of those posters, because I've never seen a good UFO con poster in my life. And I was like, that is the most embarrassing shit I've ever seen. And I never.
What's wrong with everything being in like blue wash and
and horribly photoshopped into shit? Yeah, no. Who doesn't want to be on that? Like I was like, I never want to be on a UFO con poster. That would be so embarrassing for me. For other people, go for it. Well,
let's face it, people put themselves like they're a member of fucking Star Trek on a poster.
Yeah. Well, what I love, and man, I was gonna do it. There's so many video ideas I have, but like I was gonna do a live show and go through Contact in the Desert guest list, because there's some people on there like Johnny Enoch. Who the fuck is that? What kind of name is that?
That does sound like a Star Wars character.
There's this one guy. God, I can't remember his name. Maybe I can find it in my search history real quick.
Johnny Enoch 100% plays drums for like a 90s punk band.
Probably. There was one guy I looked up that's going to Contact in the Desert. His name is Clyde Lewis, and the photo for Clyde is no shit from the 90s. It's a black and white photo. This photo was taken of him 30 fucking years ago, and this is the only, and he just uses the same photo over and over and over again. And I was like, fuck, I gotta look this guy up. I just had just like, can I make a show out of this? And the first guy I looked at,
old photos. People that use old photos.
Yeah, I was like, this dude, yeah, I can make a show about this. This is great.
They're the people that drive slightly too slow past schools.
Yeah, that aren't allowed to drive that slow past the school.
Yeah.
Or even people 5 miles.
That's
you're not supposed to take this route.
Yeah. I was gonna say the guy who does the speed limit in the left lane. But
I thought about going to a crypto conference, and the thing that actually turned me off, it's funny you're talking about the posters, is the poster for one that was near me.
Cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
It could have been either, really. All the guys were wearing these like outside, like, I don't know, 80s style vests you'd see someone in a desert with like a cocked leather hat on, and they're just like, and it's every one of them had it. It was the same thing. It's like, do you have to wear a hat to be in a picture here? Like, what are we doing?
Is this a rally or a conference? Yeah,
these are allegedly all different people, right?
Weird.
Whoa. Yeah, so I was like, I'm not going to go to that. The UFO thing didn't go so well.
Yeah.
Sorry, just quickly, I'm going to bring this comment up from Reckless Ryan because it's quite interesting. Again, it's dealing with like people that should like sort of make stories a thing, and that's
Did we have some trolls in earlier, Lee, that you got rid of?
I banned somebody before.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I love Stanton Friedman,
it's
but
been
he
naughty.
likes on Barney Hill case. That was for money. And
I think he had a couple of weak spots. I think he had a couple of blind spots, but then again, every UFO researcher does.
And even if it's not, well, I mean, the other one blind spot for him would have been the Majestic documents as well, wasn't it?
Yep. And they called him out on that in this debate. They're like, well, how could you say, how can you trust anybody if they're lying, but you believe the Majestic 12 documents are real, and those are documents that were pushed out by Richard Doty. And he's like, well, have you seen me cite Richard Doty on anything? And I think that's a big difference, because he doesn't use Richard Doty as a source for any of his research. But it is a blind spot. It is a blind spot. I think and that's the problem with this fucking topic, is that you can dig into it and still be a great researcher and come out of it fucking batshit crazy. You'll think this is real, but this isn't real. This is real. This is not real. This person said this. This person didn't say this. Blah blah blah. Like it creates blind spots, and that's what I would really love to talk to Stan about. Is, hey, let's talk about these blind spots that you have, and why is it that you can't apply your logical thinking when it comes to like Bob Lazar to Majestic 12 or to, any of these other things that Betty and Barney Hill is a perfect example. I mean, a lot of people believe Betty and Barney Hill, man. Like the Obamas are making a fucking movie about it, like.
I met their granddaughter.
Interesting.
Yeah. Is it Kathleen May?
Yep.
Cool. Kathleen. Oh, you mean a Betty and Barney Hill?
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people met her. A lot of people met her.
John met her. She was the only person that got back to him. Do you know Wreaking Havoc? She was the only one that actually got back and talked to him about his experience. What happened? What did you take of her, Dave?
I wasn't impressed. I'm not going to talk shit about her, but I wasn't impressed. It was. So you get to go into the green room, right, where you're supposed to like meet all the like headliners. So I was like, well, I could go and listen to these people talk, or I could just go hang out in that room and meet them, because that's what the money was for. And so I talked to them, and I didn't know who most of them were, and they took that at great offense. It's fucking substantial.
No,
including her. But
really, that's fucking wild.
Oh yeah. I was like, who are you? You know what I mean? Like, you don't know? You're here? I wouldn't have asked the question. It wasn't.
I guess I would ask. I would ask too. Again, going back to my original point, nobody wanders into a UFO con,
and yet they
doesn't know about fucking UFOs. So if somebody was in the VIP room going, "Who the fuck are you?"
Oh, there you go. There's Dave. There's Dave. There's Dave next to Travis.
Awesome.
I learned that
he didn't know Travis were that day.
No, I learned who he was that day. I bought his book. I bought everybody's book.
That's funny, dude.
Yeah,
that's funny. I can't believe you. Yeah, that's wild.
I think the thing with information when it comes to this subject is, it's basically when you see an average looking girl on a building site. You get an average looking girl on a building site, she's instantly a 10 because you're on a building site.
Yeah.
And so the information that you get, because there's no information, the minute something that seems credible out, it's like cast iron, like the Majestic documents are real.
Yep.
The Bob Lazar story is real. Because it's got a little bit more credibility than some guy in, what was it, Switzerland or Sweden, where a one-armed man was making fake UFO photographs.
Yeah.
You're talking about Billy?
Yeah, was
Billy
it
Meyer.
Switzerland or Sweden?
Yeah, it was Billy Meyer. But that's what I'm saying. Like when we were talking about like how this topic comes and flows.
Yeah,
and I think the Elizondo is an era. I think this will be referred to as the Elizondo era of ufology. And it'll go back into a lull where nobody's paying attention to it, and then something amazing will happen again. My biggest fear when I ended the show, I was telling my closest friends and stuff, like, Don't be shocked if UFO footage comes out that displays one of the 5 observables, like where it's just like, holy shit, what is this? And the whole world is going to scream it's alien. And the news is going to tell you it's alien. And Jeremy Corbell's going to do his fucking victory lap. And we're going to be hearing from all these guys. And behind the scenes in the intelligence community, China, Russia, all of these major powers are getting the intelligence. Oh, that's not alien. That's the US. That's their new toy. But they want everybody screaming aliens. And I think that Jeremy McGowan had put this really nicely for me. He said, the nuclear bomb of Hiroshima wasn't just a bomb. It was a message to the rest of the world. Don't fuck with us. We're the superpower. We're the big kid on the block now. And since that bomb has dropped, we have not had a moment like that, the United States, since that bomb. And in a lot of ways, the rest of the world has caught up to the United States, and in some places even surpassed the United States. I think if we did have a craft with this kind of capability, that would be similar to dropping a bomb without having to hurt anybody. It would just be a massive sighting, and the whole world will think, oh my God, alien. But the rest of the world just got the message again. Game over. Like, game over. This is done.
That's my only issue with this technology is either because, like, nukes, for instance, we kind of know who's got the nukes. And you've got the mutually assured destruction thing, which is hopefully going to stop us from barbecuing ourselves. The thing with this technology is, unless everybody's got it, let's take like the transmedium craft as read, because that, again, it's all we've got. It is just hearsay, but it's what we've got. If China's got that and the US doesn't, we don't have talk about wars. It's if you can send a fleet of aircraft somewhere instantly, and it's even at that point, you wouldn't even need a payload on them. The speed these things are traveling at, you could just use them as kinetic weapons.
Yeah.
And you've got like what was it called? I can't remember what the space-based weapon was called.
Oh, the Star Wars project?
Yeah, there's another name for it, though, wasn't it? I think it was like Trident or something like that, but it wasn't Trident. But yeah, the idea of it was like a space railgun, wasn't it? Where that you would just fire large javelins at the ground, which would essentially be
rods from God.
Yeah, as good as a nuclear warhead, but without the fallout problem.
Right.
I don't understand how a foreign nation doesn't have this technology, and we're not all on the verge of speaking Mandarin. If someone's made this leap,
the leap. No, if anyone has made the leap, it's been us, and that's a far fetched. Like, I'm reaching when I say that, right? There's no proof of that at all. But if anybody's done it, it would be our guys.
No, I agree.
But I think they would be saying the same about their guys.
No, because China are really good at taking other people's stuff,
and they're not very good at reproducing it.
Right, and they would also, if they had it, they would have taken Taiwan.
Yes,
if they had that technology, they would take the world.
Yeah,
that is.
But the first thing they would do is take
Eastern
Taiwan.
mentality. Yeah,
that would be their.
It would be a demonstration of force.
Yeah, it would be their demonstration
at Mach 80 into the ground.
Yeah. And I don't think. And here's the thing: is I don't think you need to. Let's say you did have it. Let's say a government does have it. I don't think you need to demonstrate it in an active war zone to make it known that, okay, game's over. This is no longer a fucking discussion. We're in charge. And a simple sighting, massive, huge, undeniable sighting where the thing fucking takes off, maybe even comes back and then takes off again.
Yeah.
But
The
there's
UFO on the
there's
White House lawn, but
yeah.
it's somebody else.
But nothing actually comes out and
Mhm.
nothing lands. It's just it's seen. So there'll never be the conversation will always be, well, it's alien. There's an alien in that craft, but it won't be confirmed. You know what I mean? Like, the only way to confirm if there's an alien in that craft is if it got out and made itself known. Like, and then we can all say, okay, 100% definitively, without a doubt, that thing's alien. But if you have something in the sky that demonstrates things that might look alien, you could slap that alien label on it and boom, it's alien. It's alien for the whole world. It's the visitors are here. When are they going to talk to us? When are they going to reach out? Where
Well, you're on
that'll
the
be
verge
all the
of
rage.
you're on the verge of fake alien invasion here.
Yeah, a little bit, but not invasion. It would just simply be a sighting. I don't think you need to go to invasion. I think you just need to demonstrate. Demonstrate it on a very large platform where everybody sees it and it's corroborated with thousands of people filming it. Well, this way, there's no way somebody could have planned it. I think that
this is how I see this ending.
Enough.
I think this is building to something because it feels like it feels like a movie. The way this is going. You know, obviously you watch a UFO film, things, you know, it's edited and it jumps around and it goes through like months and years in a very short space of time. Whereas if that was a real thing, it would be this slow drip of things that happen. I've said for a long time that there will come a time where the conspiracy theorists for not believing in aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's, you know, yeah, that's the goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if essentially that would be the goal. But the thing is that I don't think it's that. I think UFOs and aliens are just the perfect distraction for real tech. For real tech. It always has been and it always will be, because it can't definitively be disproven and it can't definitively be proven. It's a mystery, and it's the perfect thing that you could slap on a missile, you could slap on a weather balloon, you could slap on a drone. It applies to all of it, man. It's all mysterious, it's all unidentified, and it's all in the air. So it fits beautifully within these definitions and acronyms. I think it's just a great smokescreen to hide new toys.
I don't think enough emphasis is put on the fact that the rubber really hit the road with like the modern UFO narrative when everybody was locked in their houses and had loads of time stood looking at screens. I don't think enough people connect those two things, because I think they are intrinsically connected. The what we're seeing right now and the fact that it came out at the time when nobody could go out.
Yeah, I mean, prove it. You know, these are all just theories, man. I think the best thing to do is make it Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is probably what it is. And for me, the simplest explanation is the things that people are seeing and experience are either mental illness or misidentification or super rare natural phenomenons. And then, you know, anything outside of that is just, it can be interpreted so many different ways, man. It can be interpreted so many different ways. And so for you to hang a hat on that or say it's proof or true, I just don't recommend anyone to do it. I don't recommend anybody to do it. And I want this to be real more than anybody, but you know, you have to just bring some logic, because this is a topic that I think people can fall into some holes where they lose valuable time from their lives.
I get. Well, I mean, we've sat here for nearly 3 hours like talking.
Right.
Of course, it's a time, but it's a fucking interesting time.
It's
slot,
interesting.
isn't
It
That's
is.
the thing.
Well, I mean, like I said, even if it's not aliens, then that means it's ours.
Yeah.
And that's still really fun.
Or
Really fun.
there is another theory which I think is equally as sexy as aliens and still keeps it Earth based, is that we aren't the oldest and most advanced species on the Earth, and there's something more advanced than us in the water.
I like that. That's fun, but I don't think so. I don't think so. It's a sexy thought. I'm not saying it's not possible.
There's no evidence. Yeah,
but I'm saying, like if that was the case, cool. I do like the idea that Lex Fridman is kind of throwing around right now of the artificial intelligence that we've created has become a new god. And in the future, maybe the things we're seeing is the artificial intelligence that we've created popping back. Who knows?
Yeah, we just did an episode on the Mandela effect, and if there's any evidence, if there's any truth to the Mandela effect, I believe that at some point in the future we crack time travel, and merely coming back in time changes things. Even if you just observe it, you come back, you look at Kennedy being assassinated, then you go back to the time where you came from, and everyone checks the things. It's all right, lads. We just lost the monocle on the Monopoly guy. That's all that happened.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
there's that. Well, it's a lot of science. It's a paradox. Like most scientists, I think, believe going back in time is not possible, whereas going forward in time is.
Well, essentially, all you need to do is find a really, really cool way of waiting.
Yeah, or just a lot of gravity.
Yeah, but it's essentially all you're doing. You're taking yourself out of time for a bit so you can arrive in the future. So it makes sense that we would be able to do that. Realistically, we all time travel. We all time travel when we go to sleep. We go to sleep, we lose consciousness, and we wake up in the future.
Yeah, well, I like the idea of cameras also being a time machine.
Yeah,
because they're sort of capturing that moment in time. But the idea, like we just watched Interstellar, like space travel is time travel, because the further you get away from space or from Earth, it's theory of relativity. You're not aging as quickly because you're not as close to gravity and the mass of Earth, and so when you come back, you're only aged 2 years, where everyone on Earth is aged 80 years, 100.
That is my favorite film.
Yeah, it's a great flight. It's a great flight, and that's time travel. That's traveling into the future. And if you came back, you'd be in the future. But I don't think there'd be a way to go back, because the problem with going back in time is not only do you have to go back in time, but you have to go back in space as well. So that means that you have to have figured out a way to reverse planetary movements and star systems, and to get back to that exact moment at that time that you're trying to get back to. There's too much. I don't think it's possible, and I think
there's too much that the human brain can't get its head around.
No, I just think that I just don't know what kind of, I guess, power source you would need to reverse space and time. People think of time travel as just time. Oh, I'm going back in time. No, you're going back in space and time. So if you're going back to 1950 and Back to the Future, that means that you're going back to the place where the Earth was in space in 1950. So the planet has to be in that place, or it's not the same time. You know what I mean? So that goes for the sun, that goes for the comets, that goes for asteroids, that goes for everything in all universes. Like you'd have to be able to reverse all of it. And I don't think that's. I just don't. I hope I'm wrong. That'd be cool. Let's make a DeLorean. Let's try out. But I don't know.
Get to 88.
Yeah.
You have spoke about Woo on UCR when it was UCR, because you had Fugal on.
Yeah, we're gonna have you go on again.
So what do you make of Skinwalker in that area? Because we've got a good friend of the channel, Dave Miller, that comes on. He's been on a few times. Who this Dave introduced me to as well. Thanks, Dave, for that.
Yeah.
And another strange guy you put into my life. I know, I do love him.
I thought you said wife then.
Yeah, that too.
Well, I'll after this I got to go, but I'll let you know what I think about Skinwalker Ranch. I like what Stephen Greenstreet's doing there right now. The basement office episodes and the I think now be his fourth and last episode on Skinwalker Ranch specifically. I think episode 3 was a really big eye opener for me as far as what kind of science is being done there. The issue I have is that you have every single member of that team is Mormon. So they already have a very hardcore belief system. Not all of them believe in this phenomenon, but it's clear that all of them definitely love the mystery of it. So I think from a scientific standpoint, you've got a lot of belief systems and the same religion across all of these independent researchers. I think it's very simple to create a bias within that investigation. So I think that's the biggest issue I have right now for the Skinwalker and whether or not their data collection is valid or any good. It seems to me at this point that this is not a money-making venture for Fugal. Fugal makes a lot of money,
a lot of money
outside of the Skinwalker Ranch thing. But what I think
doesn't need that.
But he doesn't need it. But you know who does need it? The team members on that ranch. And all of those team members are people he grew up with. And I think that's a way to take care of his friends, give them a job, and then they could also make extra money doing tours. And
that's a good friend.
Yeah,
friend.
The thing is, like, let's say you've got loads and loads of money. Like, there is less fun things you could do with that money than sending some sort of research team to Skinwalker Ranch. You know,
way less fun things.
Yeah,
way less fun things.
My issue with Skinwalker, and I've always, it's again one of those stories I really want to be true, and it was a story that I bought into more than others until Bigelow went on Joe Rogan, and it turns out that he all he'd done is pump loads of money into that, and then when asked questions about it, he had absolutely nothing to give back.
Yeah. Well, and then a couple of years after that interview, we find out that, well, most of the guys that were on that ranch were milking the contract. They knew nothing was there. They were getting drunk every night, most of them.
Yeah.
I mean, talk to Chris Bartell. He'll tell you they were getting wasted. They were making up reports and turning them in just to keep the boss happy because he wanted to hear paranormal stories. So they would just make shit up and fax it in just so the job would stay. And I think that's exactly what's happening right now. And I think you've got believers that are on a spooky ranch and they will take any part of it and make it into something spooky and present it to Brandon as, "Ooh, this is mysterious and this is spooky. We don't know what this is."
And double because they're making a TV show while they're doing it.
Right. Right. And they're making, like, those team members, you know, and when I mean everybody outside of Brandon, I don't think I'd be shocked if Brandon gets appearance fees or anything like that for the show. I'd be shocked. But if he did, it wouldn't shock me, I guess, that much. But my point is, he's not doing the Skinwalker Ranch tours. He's all of the guys he employs are doing those things. So I think
he finds it fun.
Those are it's just, for me, it looks like a great way to employ his buddies, keep them close to him. And like you said, spend money on something that interests you.
He gets to
be a lot worse things. Yeah.
He gets a helicopter into Skinwalker Ranch.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but he gets a helicopter into Skinwalker Ranch like the like cryptid Vince McMahon when Vince McMahon turns up at WWE. You know, it's cool. It makes him look cool when he does it as well.
Right.
Everyone would like that.
No, I mean, it's Look, he's a cool dude. Like, he's a really nice guy. And that's someone I've talked to way more than I have Lou Elizondo, because he genuinely reaches out to me just to see how I'm doing. And this is what I love about him, is that he lets me be critical about what he does. And he doesn't hold it as a personal attack. He, like, the beautiful thing about Brandon is I never feel like I'm walking on eggshells around him. And the next time he's on, I'm going to ask him about the bias within the research team. I'm going to ask him why he's not providing the metadata that Mick West is asking for to help with the mystery. Like, these are things he should be doing, and these are things I'm going to ask him, and let's see how he answers. But the fact that he lets me ask those questions, and that he listens to my points of view, and maybe he disagrees.
Ask him to fly Mick West in.
They've already had that conversation, and we don't need
Mick's too scared.
We had Stephen Greenstreet go there, and Stephen Greenstreet, I think, is doing a really great job of documenting exactly what's going on that ranch. It's very clear.
I like Stephen Greenstreet. I'd like to speak to him.
Yeah, no, he's doing good work, and
I think he has an uncomfortable connection with Nick Pope, but past that,
agreed. And I've had dinner with Stephen Greenstreet, and we talked about that, and they're friends, and I think that's first. They're buddies, and they're buddies that definitely disagree. But yeah, to me, it's a conflict of interest for sure. Like,
before you have to disappear, just speaking about Pope, what do you think of the Calvine UFO picture that came out?
I think it's a reflection.
See, I don't think it's a reflection. I think it's something.
I think it's an optical illusion, and if it is something, it's not non-human. It might be an experimental aircraft that the U.S. was messing around with, but the bottom line is that we haven't heard from the photographers. We haven't heard from anybody who was there. It's all just a bunch of mystery and hearsay, and nobody knows anything.
Did you watch you probably not watched it, but did you watch the video of the? I think I've titled it the guy that's seen all 6 pictures.
Mm-mm.
We had him on. It's a good friend of the channel, not a bullshitter. And he couldn't tell 100% exactly but he did say he saw the plane move in the picture.
See, I have an interesting thing about that, because the big debunk on that photograph. I'm not saying I know where it is, but the big debunk on that photograph is the fact that you couldn't see the hills in the background. Now I come from a small island, like the Isle of Man. We are in between Ireland and the UK, about a 2-hour boat ride from Liverpool. We've got it's a very specific climate. When you get cold weather, or reasonably cold weather, that gets foggy, and you do get that really thick hill fog. That year, and I go to work sometimes, because it was there's a mountain here that we have to drive through, real similar area to where that photograph was done, and there is definitely I would say weekly during certain times of the year where you have that really thick hill fog, where you could see something in the air, but you wouldn't see anything like
the big thing in the UK where you just don't.
I think I would take this photo more seriously if it wasn't coming from UAP Media UK, Christopher Sharp, and that UFO podcast.
Yeah, that's fine.
If it was coming from somebody else, maybe I would sort of give it a little bit more benefit of the doubt, but because those guys can't be trusted, and they've been shown to push really bogus shit with no sources.
That is definitely, I would say definitely, because it's whatever it is, it's a photograph of something.
It's a photograph of something. What it is,
But it's definitely what it's definitely the original of the photocopy that Nick Pope put out.
I wouldn't. Yeah, sure.
Because
I'd go along with that. It makes sense. I mean,
exactly.
to me, the copy of it is there's that one. I think it was a photocopy of a drawing of it or something like that. It's so similar. And so it's like, yeah, okay, so maybe that photo was floating around, but it's clearly not a classified photo.
Yeah, well,
It definitely wasn't classified because it was on a fucking. It was on a dark room's bloody wall. That's where Stu saw them all.
That's why I think, man,
in the
it's
Daily
just,
Record, when you work for the Daily Record.
Yeah, I can't. Sure, it's cool, but at the end of the day, there's no sources. There's no concrete data to definitively say one or the other. I mean, when I saw somebody had put, I'm sure you guys saw it too, that picture of the reflection, and you flip it, and it's like it's a really legitimate optical illusion. And when I saw that, I was like, yeah, that kind of does look like that could be an island in a certain filter with the camera. I'm not familiar with the camera. I'm sure people have already done this shit, and I probably sound like an idiot, but I'm just considering the sources of who's pushing it the hardest. And for me, that's why I'm like, I'm not going to pay attention to it, because it just seems like a lot of fluff. And it has been. They fluffed it up last, November? We still haven't heard a fucking thing about it since then.
Yeah,
not
and
a
there
goddamn
was
thing.
about seeing the other 5 as well.
Yeah, the other 5 photos. We were supposed to get interviews with the guys who took the photos. We were supposed to get the interview with the guy who found the photo. We never got any of that shit. So until that stuff happens, I'm gonna kind of just fucking laugh at it.
Lou, I'll send you the interview that I had with the guy after the show.
I'll take it. I'll take a look at it.
Have a look at it.
But
good guy.
I gotta go, man. I gotta work on an audition. I got shit I gotta do. Laundry.
Thanks for coming on, man. I really enjoyed it.
It was fun. Thanks for having me. Yeah, anytime. Hit me up. I will. It's nice to meet you.
You too.
And Lee, yeah, it was good to talk to you guys. And I'll see you guys soon.
Cheers, buddy.
Bye
bye. I really enjoyed this show.
It was fun.
Yeah.
What was going on in chat, man?
Oh,
I have no idea.
I mean,
I saw something pop up that mentioned BlackStar, and then
I did too, and then Lee pulled it. I was like, "What was going on?"
I'm basically I'm running the chat now on a 3 strikes and you're out rule. So I'll put someone in. I've
partnershiped with an absolute tyrant.
No, because you get put in I quarantine them for 5 minutes, and if you continue to be a cunt, then you're gone. I don't do it to people I know, because I think, without going too deep, I think we know there's some people out there that have probably got more than one account. And I think I know who it was. So it makes no odds.
That doesn't make sense. People wouldn't do that. That's not sane.
So no, it's not sane. You're right, and it's rather lonely of the person. So yeah, the thing, I didn't mean to put that comment, but I'm glad if there was any of them I put up, I'm glad it was that one, because
I didn't get to see it. What was it?
Something to do with me sucking your cock.
Of course. I mean, it's a privilege. It's a privilege.
We're going to stay with Dave, so who knows?
See how the evening works out.
Do you know the thing is, like, there is nothing anybody can say to me which would upset me. Like, I genuinely, any of the stuff that was in the comments that people were saying about me or other people, I think is funny. What really pisses me off is I like looking at the comments while we're doing the show. So when you've got one person that's continually posting, I only put them in timeout, because that means I can see the rest of the fucking chat.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't pull comments up. It's we probably because obviously we had a guest on tonight, so there was more talking, so we didn't pull quite as many comments up. But I enjoy doing that on this show. That, like, pulling comments from people is a big part of it. And like I say, you can't do that when it's just someone constantly, like, essentially writing homosexual alien addict fan fiction.
Seems like someone's channeling their own desires.
It does. Yeah, I think it is. It's somebody's. Somebody needs to live. They need to live a dream that cannot be lived.
Not with me.
Dave, are you free on Sunday next week?
Oh, is this?
Yeah, 'cause I'm just thinking. I mean, we spoke about this, Lee, like last, was it Friday? But we haven't spoke to Dave about it.
Oh, yeah.
I sent the thumbnail out.
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah, do you want to do a show next week about Aleister Crowley?
Stephen Crowley.
Stephen Crowley.
Maybe
Alice's
if
brother.
I can. I have to look at the schedule, man.
Yeah.
I already gave up
Yeah.
something to do today. So.
Hidden really wants to do it.
Yeah, Hidden's coming on because he's
He said he'll only smoke one joint.
big in. Yeah, he's really excited about it. I'm excited about it. I'm going to start watching some Aleister Crowley documentaries.
Yeah,
because that's like reading for your ears. And that, yeah, it'll be fun. This is fun. This was good. I enjoyed this.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a 3-hour conversation about something where there's absolutely no conclusion, and everyone walks away going from, yeah, it's probably bullshit, isn't it?
As it should be.
Yeah. I need to end this, really, don't I?
Yep.
Just do it.
Just do it. Just cut it off. No,
Yeah.
say goodbye.
Never gotta say goodbye.
Oh my god!
Now you gotta do that.
Oh my god! See ya.
Not a rocket.
So it's a midget and a priest, and they're with. Wait, what? We still on?